Dumeki Jun 2 8-year-old adventurer of rank C, a skilled swordsman with a rare magical sword. In the past he was betrayed, so now he goes alone, but as soon as there is a chance to gather a squad, his doubts are swept away. Dumeki thinks further about the life of an adventurer and comes to the conclusion, a group is advantageous. When tasks are divided among themselves, chances for greater rewards appear. While tending to his sword, he closely watches stronger adventurers who have already been ranked higher. But despite this, he does not allow the difference in level to break him. Resolutely determined to grow, he sets a personal goal to rise to higher ranks and firmly believes that he will not lose despite any obstacles. An adventurer of rank, the leader of a famous group, approaches Dumeki and asks for his help. Surprised, he agrees to listen. He himself does not understand why this suddenly touched him. Dumeki agrees to help the Ranka group to defeat a rare unicorn attracted by the reward. He was not going to work in a team at all, but as soon as he learned that they needed a reliable attacker, he immediately agreed. Dumeki joins the group and sets out on the mission, while the team quickly assembles and distributes roles. Although Dumeki is cautious, he keeps pace, focused on the task and on how to earn rewards. In the heat of the mission, everything already breathed danger. Dumeki finds the target and immediately warns the group. The fight breaks out on the spot. Without hesitation, he rushes into the attack. He clearly made it understood, he is 100% ready for battle. But during the attack, something completely unexpected happens. Dumeki takes a hit, and he is interrupted right in the middle of the action. Meanwhile, the group watches everything from a distance and it becomes obvious, events did not go at all as he had planned. Dumeki realizes too late that he is trapped, and during the attack, he is wounded. The group leader, with a cold smile, admits everything was planned. He begins to provoke while the rest stand nearby and only watch, not interfering. Finally, he realizes that he was deceived from the very beginning, probably when they understood that they treated him like a disposable thing. Lying on the ground, Dumeki puts the whole picture together. He was lured into the mission only to force him to use his magical sword. They arranged everything in advance. They drove him into the forest alone to cut him off from the others and eliminate the chance to take away the weapon. Only when he realized that he was completely deceived did the leader approach and coldly promise to take the sword, but it turned out that this was only a cover for the real purpose. Wounded, Dumeki stood up and faced the entire group. He was not going to surrender. Then the leader decided to finish it. He rushed into the attack, considering him worthless, but even in this state, Dumeki reacts and prepares to fight to the end. Without hesitation, the leader moved forward and with a direct strike hit Dumeki, breaking through the defense and inflicting a severe wound. The blow knocked him off his feet and clearly showed the chasm between them. While he was falling, the group looked at him with contempt as if everything was already decided. The defeated Dumeki falls to the ground. The leader steps on his chest and declares that this is his end. Badly wounded, bleeding, he is already on the edge, too weak to even react. Abandoned by his own group, Dumeki still lies there, swallowing again the bitter thought. He was deceived and left at the threshold of death. On the very threshold, Dumeki is losing his last strength. Life slowly fades away, blink by blink. Lying in the forest, he replays the past in his head, continuous defeats, betrayals, and unrelenting, burning pain. When consciousness dimmed, the last thought pierced through the darkness, if only he had one more chance. He no longer wanted to live as before. He decided to become stronger and live his own way once and for all. Even when his life was dwindling to zero. Dumeki is still conscious and cannot understand how he still feels everything around. Checking his condition, he realizes he is dead. All indicators dropped to zero, but consciousness did not fade, so something abnormal happened here. Even dead, Dumeki remains conscious but cannot move his body or speak. Pressed to the ground, he understands. He sees, does not feel, and cannot act, and feels as if stuck between life and death. Time passes and Dumeki is still in the same state, conscious but trapped in his own body. Gradually, tiny sensations return to him, especially touch, and it seems to suggest that something has barely shifted. Even confused, Dumeki tries to check his condition, slowly regaining control. When sensations partially return to him, he still stays afloat. Dumeki gains access to his status and discovers an absurd change. Now he is classified as undead. The body decomposes, constant hunger and reduced stats indicate an unstable condition, and confused, he tries to comprehend this new reality, analyzes his skills and understands despite the weakened state, he still has the strength to act. Dumeki suddenly realizes the world around has remained the same, only he has changed. When he understood that he is now a monster, it became clear, adventurers will hunt him. Realizing this, he decides to change as quickly as possible before meeting people to gather enough strength to survive in this new state. Dumeki, recalling his traveling days, takes his experience and begins to transform into a monster, cleverly adapting the surrounding environment and available resources to himself. Determined to survive, he throws himself into exhausting training. Obsessed with the desire to level up as quickly as possible during training, he does a lot. Dumeki went into the forest to hunt weak monsters and defeated them one by one. After killing a skeleton, he was convinced experience grows, level increases. His status gradually rises along with the increase in attributes, and it is visible. Even as undead, he can develop and become stronger. Dumeki suddenly noticed that his attributes had increased and with surprise found out, now he can distribute points without any restrictions. Analyzing the system, he understood that the monster's abilities directly depend on these stats and the body on the choices made. So he prioritized agility and dexterity to increase survival chances, because in the current state magic cannot be used. After distributing points, Dumeki feels his body becoming lighter and faster. Increased agility immediately confirms itself with improved stats, so he tests it without hesitation in battle against monsters. Realizing that he can easily defeat them, Dumeki still holds the defense. He sees how ghouls deliver blows with such force that a single sharp swing can end a life. Exploring the forest, Dumeki notices another zombie. It acts on instinct and tries to feed on literally anything. Comparing this to his own consciousness, he understands. Unlike others, even being undead, he retains the ability to think, and he sees this as his advantage. He felt that he could adopt the behavior of monsters without losing his thoughts, and this will likely help him develop even further. During the trials, Dumeki throws himself at a tree, and finally bites the trunk, feeling the instincts of the undead on his own skin. Although the goal is not immediately noticeable, the very action already triggers changes. He has risen to a new level and gained a new ability that works on predation. By devouring prey, he restores some life. Dumeki returns to training and destroys another zombie, perceiving it as another step in his own evolution. Becoming more agile, he now finds enemies more easily and continues hunting in the forest, striving to level up as quickly as possible. Encountering a ghoul that was approaching him, Dumeki surveys the situation with a quick glance and suddenly realizes, with his current speed, he can escape. Still, he decides not to retreat and stays to confront the enemy. Recalling the moment of his death, he tells himself he will never repeat the same fate again. Determined to break the prophecy, Dumeki faces the ghoul and declares that he will become stronger. He is the first to attack short, lightning-fast strikes, and his agility relentlessly pressures the enemy. In the heat of the battle, he manages to hit the ghoul, and at that moment he realizes, now the enemy before him is much stronger than before. But he does not stop. He continues to fight with stubbornness, determined to win and prove to everyone that he has grown. During the fight, an evolution option ignites in Dumeki, a chance to become a much more advanced type of undead. Realizing that this choice can radically reshape his abilities, he understands. He will forge his development with his own hands. Without any hesitation, he chooses the Ghoul Devourer path, accepting evolution as a way to gain strength and survive. Dumeki transforms into a devouring ghoul. His body twists and changes, and he speaks again, now with new abilities. After the evolution, Dumeki sheds the state of decay, and his characteristics rapidly increase. And again, he regains speech and control over his body so he can act more freely and with greater zeal. Dumeki makes his way through the forest, resolute and with no intention to stop. He strives to continue evolving. His attention is focused on further pumping, on becoming increasingly stronger. Overcome by unbearable hunger, Dumeki realizes he can't go on like this if he continues to feed only on what he has eaten so far. Although the negative consequences are still felt, he decides to stop hesitating and look for a better way to eat in order to continue evolving. Hunger and stubborn determination push Dumeki. He reaffirms his goal, to outrun everyone and become stronger, no matter what. In despair, he decides to find a new source of food, trying to survive and at the same time not stop evolving. Dumeki tries to catch fish to finally eat. But as soon as he steps into the river, he immediately realizes the current is much stronger than he expected. The water pulls and drags him, and at that moment it becomes clear everything has gotten out of control and now it is dangerous. Carried away by the current and on the brink of death, Dumeki barely survived. Exhausted, he senses danger and decides to act more cautiously, heading towards the cave in search of shelter and safety. In the cave, Dumeki came across a glowing magical circle and immediately understood this is the entrance to the dungeon. No way out, and he sees in this a chance to find enemies to feed on and evolve. He dares to enter, having entered the dungeon. Dumeki stumbles upon an enclosed area overgrown with plants completely different from the surrounding world. Surveying the vicinity, Dumeki felt something strange was sneaking just steps away and immediately realized he was not alone here. In the dungeon, Dumeki encounters an E-level orc and instantly determines the enemy's level. He senses it is much more dangerous here, but at the same time there are many chances to grow. Hunger drives Dumeki. He sees that they are of the same rank and without any hesitation throws himself into the attack. After easily laying down the first orc, Dumeki provokes the next enemy, radiating confidence and clearly making it known that he rules the dungeon battles. In the next clash, the orc retaliated and struck Dumeki, dealing damage and truthfully showing the entire fight was not easy at all. Even wounded, he continues to fight, endures, does not look away, and stubbornly keeps his focus on victory. After the victory over the orc, Dumeki devours it to restore strength, putting the enemy in the role of food, yet still feels the hunger does not subside. That means he needs to eat more to finally be satisfied. Still hungry, Dumeki continues eating on the go, exploring the dungeon and comes across stairs. Realizing that the stairs lead to higher levels, he decides to go further, understanding better loot and a chance to continue evolution may await there. Having ascended, Dumeki encountered several orcs gathered and blocking the way, but did not retreat. On the contrary, approached with cold curiosity. Seeing them as a bunch of nourishment for further evolution was too tempting. When several orcs appeared before him, Dumeki remained calm and deliberately provoked their pack, as if throwing a spark into dry grass. As soon as they lined up and began climbing the stairs, he felt his own advantage and met them one by one. It was a perfect chance to fight and feed. Lying low in the narrow stairway passage, Dumeki rushed forward, knocking out orcs one by one, quickly, aggressively, and instantly dominated the fight, turning the clash into a continuous series of kills. When it was all over and he dealt with everyone, Dumeki looked at the number of orcs he had killed and realized how dangerous it was to get involved in such group fights. Despite everything, he uses the bodies to feed and gain experience and clearly feels this place is like an endless burst of enemy appearances. After the battle, Dumeki ate and got lost in thoughts about his own development. He needs to become stronger and more agile to handle fights with groups. Noticing how his mind increasingly works on instincts, Dumeki feels excitement washing over him. He accepts this change and concludes his new state is not something bad at all. Even after eating, hunger does not subside, and Dumeki understands the body still demands more. After checking his status, he noticed the hunting skill has already leveled up and regeneration has increased. Finding no more enemies on this floor, he decided to go up to the upper levels of the dungeon for new monsters and food. When Dumeki climbs to the next floor, the corridors are almost indistinguishable from the previous ones. Suddenly something stirs ahead, the appearance of a new enemy or the approach of danger, a sign not to be ignored. On the new floor, Dumeki encounters a much more dangerous pack E-rank orcs, distributed by roles. There is an archer who keeps distance with precise shots while the fighters advance. When he realized that the arrows were endless, it became clear to him the fight would be harder and would require a more cunning plan. Facing the new group, Dumeki quickly assesses the situation and prioritizes strategy. First, remove the archer. Covering everything with his speed, he rushes across the battlefield, dodging blows and closing the distance to neutralize the shooter before switching to others. Dumeki reaches the archer and delivers a precise strike, eliminating him, removing the greatest threat from the group. Realizing he could quickly deal with enemies, he felt confident he would handle the rest without much difficulty. Having cleared the level, Dumeki looks around the dungeon and sees how everything is arranged. The boss sits at the deepest point, and after his defeat, a portal to the exit opens. However, he does not rush straight to the boss. First, he decides to grow more and become stronger before facing him. After another evolution, Dumeki gains new options, a giant ogre and a cursed mummy, among others. Examining their features, he finally understands he needs a path that suits his stature. And after the promotion, the new ally also received permission to remain free. He was officially recognized as a victim of the demonic sword. The group is also given joyful news. Their application for the official creation of their own clan was approved. This meant that an even larger new phase was beginning for all of them. After the official founding of the clan, the group team chooses the name Star Conquerors, a symbol of their new journey, united by one dream. Everyone strives to become the strongest in the world and sincerely believes, together they will truly overcome the impossible. As soon as the clan is created, the group receives a special invitation to participate in a large-scale clan tournament right in the very capital. This event will bring under one roof the most powerful organizations of the entire kingdom and determine the official clan rankings for the group. This is the first real chance to demonstrate their strength in front of the whole world. Without hesitation, the group agrees to participate in the tournament, determined firmly and resolutely to take first place. They are warmed by the thought of meeting the strongest clans of the kingdom, and behind their backs awaits a surprise. The guild, thanks to connections and influence, has prepared a special reward for them. As a reward, the warrior receives a powerful rare sword, and from this sight, the gaze involuntarily becomes fixed on the weapon. Stunned by the unexpected gift, he can hardly believe his own eyes. Now he has such a valuable weapon for future battles and for the upcoming tournament. Having examined the new weapon, the warrior realized he received an extraordinarily rare and incredibly powerful demonic sword. Fueled by magic, it can enhance his attacks. He was deeply struck by the power of this weapon. He knows for sure this gift can further increase his strength before the great clan tournament. As soon as he took the new sword, he shines with excitement and vows to master its full power by the tournament itself. While everyone watches his unusual enthusiasm, the group meanwhile makes plans for a new dungeon and prepares for the upcoming clan. During the conversation, they learn the main thing. The dungeon can be destroyed if the hidden core inside it is destroyed, and this news instantly alarmed everyone. The guild leader asks the group to protect the village dungeon because in an incredibly short time it has already started dropping rare equipment and bringing unheard of profits. The dungeon is expanding too quickly, so the guild decides to officially take the region under control and opens a branch right near the village. While neighboring cities are only beginning to profit from the wave of travelers, the group vows to protect the inhabitants and develop the area at a pace to turn it into a new important center for adventurers. As soon as the village plans started working, the group split again and each rushed to their own task. Meanwhile, the warrior walks through the forest to finally test his new sword in action. The others do not even think about stopping. They take on missions and support the development of the dungeon, while simultaneously laying the foundation of the future city of beastfolk. And the group meanwhile continued to take care of the dungeon and the village, kept everything under control, and did not shirk their duties. The new ally returns to his homeland and once again sits down for training, not giving himself a moment of rest. Even after several defeats, he stubbornly does not give up. He continues to look for a chance to break free from the vicious circle of failures. He was determined to become strong enough to correct the mistakes of the past and catch up with his new comrades. Even after another defeat, the new ally stubbornly insisted on continuing the fight. He wanted to prove his worth. In harsh training in his native village, he finally realized he still lacks maturity, so he cannot reveal his full strength. And suddenly he realizes he still needs to grow a lot to take on the burden of leading the dragon lineage. During the battle, the new ally admitted that he had fought all his life for the recognition of his family and sought to prove that he was stronger than everyone around. Even completely exhausted and wounded, he stubbornly tries to get up. He could not get rid of the pride and feelings he had carried for so long, especially after causing trouble during the fight. But in the end, his new ally is temporarily expelled from the village. That is his entire punishment. He could not fully come to terms with the family's decision. He leaves, carrying disappointment and resentment within, and begins to wander alone again. Consumed by rage and despair after being expelled from the village, the new ally loses control and wanders for several days in the form of a dragon, destroying everything in his path. Unable to cope with his feelings, he sinks deeper into despair, and eventually this leads him to the demonic sword. In the midst of his uncontrollable fury, the dragon finally encountered a mysterious red-haired man, not understanding what was happening. When suddenly attacked from behind, a burning pain pierced him, and only then did he realize he had become a target for something much darker. After a head injury, cruel thoughts begin to invade the dragon. They awaken an insatiable hunger for blood and destruction. Even desperately resisting, he slowly loses control over his own body and finally flies toward the great city, gradually being consumed by the insidious influence of the demonic sword. Rushing to the city, the dragon desperately fights the murderous thoughts sown by the curse. Even without intending to destroy the innocent, the pain and influence of the demonic sword increasingly consume his mind. By the time he can no longer resist on his own, a moment before he completely loses consciousness, everything is covered by that very darkness. A coordinated attack by a group interrupts the dragon. Pressed by pain and the curse, he still sees how perfectly the adventurers act together. And he understands that it was precisely that trust between them that stopped him in time, even before the tragedy could happen. While the group attacked him, the dragon did not avert his gaze and keenly read their flawless unity, feeling a bitter mix of irritation and envy. Deep down, he admitted he never had people he could trust like that, and because of this, his pain only grew sharper, intensifying the feeling of losing control. When the dragon finally came to his senses, he realized everything that had happened during his wild rampage. Learning that it was exactly that group at which he once unleashed his fury that saved him, he officially joined them and admitted these people completely rewrote his fate. Living alongside them, the new ally gradually discovers the strength, kindness, and trust that hold them all together. Inspired by his companion's journey, he finally decides to leave the past behind and live not only for himself, but also for the people he now truly calls his family. In the circle of true comrades, Drake finally finds a new purpose to move forward. Not wanting to step on the same rake again, he decides to become stronger to protect his friends and walk alongside them as part of the new family he has finally found. Having just tested his new weapon, the main hero smashes monsters with absurd ease. He immediately feels the colossal power of the rare katana that has just come into his hands, and captivated by its strength, he becomes even more determined to develop further and from then on seek ever tougher challenges. Having received an extremely powerful new weapon, the main hero decides to fully focus on preparing his team for the great ranked war that will begin in a few months. While they continue taking missions and fortifying the dungeon, their goal now is simple: for everyone to grow as much as possible before the decisive clan battle. Already after 1.5 months, their efforts began visibly reshaping the old secluded village. The guild finally started working, new shops sprang up everywhere, and people also began settling here. The dungeon turned into the driving force of the region's growth, and the dream of a flourishing city is finally gradually becoming reality. But the more the dungeon expands and becomes more dangerous, the more persistently the main hero adds S-level bosses to intensify the challenge and further increase the value of this location. Smart improvements made exploration safer for adventurers, the fame of the dungeon spread instantly, and the village continued to grow and knew no rest. After weeks of relentless training and endless missions, everyone in the team began growing absurdly, and seeing comrades getting stronger day by day, the main hero decides to personally check each one's combat level to understand how much the clan has grown before the rank war. Drake is the first to show results. After fierce training in aerial battles, he reached an exceptionally high level and learned to fight even in human form. Soon, Shinku also shocks everyone, rising to a new advanced frontline class and unlocking several powerful skills that sharply strengthen the group. Kinu undergoes a huge evolution. He reaches a new level Golden Fox, gaining even more devastating magical powers and even techniques that allow partially reading enemies' emotions. While comrades boast absurd powers, the main hero admits that all this time he has been slowly mastering his new demonic katana and so far has only managed to rise one level. On the eve of the trip to the royal capital, the group finally decides to rest. They gather around the table and savor the rare silence. Realizing that due to upcoming missions and duties they will have to part ways for a long time, they arrange a special joint dinner as if emphasizing, tomorrow starts another, bigger, new stage of the journey. On the eve of the Great Rank War, the whole team immerses themselves in upgrading equipment and preparation, while the main hero meanwhile sets off to the capital to handle important matters. Other participants promised not to stop strengthening the dungeon and said that they had already prepared new special equipment. It is meant to help Drake and Shinku become even stronger before the upcoming battles. After that, the group gives Drake and Shinku new individual combat gear, inspired by the legendary warriors from the land of Hua. These suits not only significantly enhance defense and mobility, they also symbolize that Drake has finally begun to be regarded as a true team member, on par with the other companions. Not hiding their excitement over the new matching uniforms, the group felt even more united before the big competition that was already approaching. Next came Kinu's turn. She received a special gift. Twin blades, specially created for her new fighting style, sharply increase both the speed and power of her attacks. Kinu is wildly happy holding her new twin blades, light and agile, made precisely to maximize her chain attacks. Then the group reveals the intrigue. The last gift is for the hero himself, a special item that was so difficult to choose that everyone deliberated for a long time about what would suit him best. The group's final gift turned out to be an incredibly rare anti-magic ring, which could protect the main hero from mental influences in the most dangerous moments during sleep, poisoning, or paralysis. Realizing how perfectly this item fits his current weaknesses, he is sincerely moved while everyone finishes the evening and prepares to set out for the capital tomorrow. The next day, part of the group finally leaves the village and heads to the royal capital. And they prepare for the Great War of Ratings, while some remain in place to continue managing the dungeon. Others moved forward determined to strengthen their equipment and reach a new level even before the decisive competition begins. On the way to the capital, the group considers the next steps and firmly decides to train until the last moment before the tournament. After hours of exhausting travel, they stopped to rest, but in a moment realized something strange was happening nearby. After a long journey, the group finally reached the huge trading city of Meralda, one of the busiest centers of the kingdom. I was struck by the absurdly colossal number of people. They endlessly entered and just as endlessly exited. But they will have to endure long queues and pass the guards' inspection before finally entering the city, where they will begin the final preparations for the tournament. Because they are adventurers of rank S, even at the very entrance to the city they are treated specially, so they pass the inspection without unnecessary problems. Next, they only need to find a place to stay, and they are advised a famous tavern known for its excellent cuisine and cozy atmosphere. Deciding to start their stay there before the final preparations for the tournament, they arrived at the recommended. Seeing how the tournament had reshaped everything there, the group found out there was no room to drop an apple, only 2 rooms remained free. Not wanting to bother anyone, they decided to part ways and rest each in their own way, especially after hearing that this tavern is famous for having one of the best cuisines in all of Moraldi. Settling in the cozy inn, Drake took advantage of the silence to honestly talk about his doubts and insecurities. Although he has become stronger, he admits that he has grown less than he hoped, and now he is thinking about which path to take next to grow together with the group. During the conversation, Drake finally voices the real reason for his anxiety. He still does not feel that he has found his special role in the group. While On remains at the epicenter of the attack, Kinu magically shatters the enemies and Shinku steadfastly holds the front line, not letting it falter. He begins to feel as if he is truly not needed by the team even after everything they have been through together. Later, the main character explains, Drake sees it quite differently. Instead of fighting for the same role as the others, his strength lies elsewhere. Drake is a pure attacker, capable of quickly destroying strong enemies and thereby relieving pressure from the entire team. When Drake realized that his offensive skills directly protect Kinu and Shinku, he finally begins to feel his truly unique value in the group. To help Drake find a fighting style that best suits his incredible strength, the main character decides to gift him a giant sword that he himself once wielded. Although Drake, though surprised by the trust shown to him, takes the weapon with enthusiasm and finally feels, here it is a clear path to grow even more as the main attacker of the group. After the sincere conversation and the appearance of the new weapon, the companions' mood noticeably loosens, becoming warmer and lighter. Before they continue training, Shinku and Kinu appear with shining eyes and call everyone to dinner at Yen's tavern. Again, everyone gathered together to seize a moment of silence before the fierce battles awaiting them in the capital. At dinner, the group finally tasted the famous dish of the inn, and everyone was simply amazed by the quirky flavor, enjoying this relaxed, rare moment. Eventually, they overheard among other visitors rumors about a great mysterious event already shaking the whole city, and that could explode at any moment. Intrigued by the rumors spreading like a wave through the city, the main character tries to learn more. But he admits that he is not very good at talking to strangers, and Drake immediately offers to scout himself. He resolutely decided to find out the answers, even if he had to spend a few coins on drinks to extract information from the tavern's guests. Using his ease of communication, Drake quickly picked up the conversation and focused the reconnaissance in the right place. Drake swiftly extracted information from the adventurers in the tavern. He learns that for several days someone mysterious has been attacking slave traders' dens throughout the city and freeing the captives. A huge commotion rises in Moraldi. No one can be forced to say who is behind these strikes. The more information surfaces, the more confusing everything becomes and the harder it is to keep silent. And they find out what will happen next. But when the residents finally understand who is in the crosshairs, everything turns inside out. The targets of the attacks have become human traffickers who illegally kidnap demi-humans and beast people right in the city. The mysterious Avenger has almost become a legend in people's minds, and now everyone is certain of one thing: the last big hideout will be attacked the next night. Hearing the whole story, the main character falls silent and sinks into thoughts about that figure in the shadows, about the unknown who attacks human traffickers. When the whole city begins to see him as a true hero, somewhere too close someone silently watches from the rooftops in the moonlight. This hints that the mysterious person may be much closer to the group than they themselves imagine. Looking more closely, the group realizes the rot is deeper than it seemed at first glance. The trade in demi-humans and beast people in morality is illegal, which, so someone very influential is covering for the criminals behind the scenes. Corrupt nobles probably receive bribes to let it all slide. The main character feels a real anger growing inside him because of the injustice happening in the city. Overcome with rage, he decides that he cannot just stand aside from what is happening in morality. The realization that someone alone is fighting this corruption and the thought of freeing the slaves whose blood boils within him push him to intervene and help directly. Without any hesitation, the comrades immediately agreed to stand by him again. Then the group sets about making a plan, how to investigate everything without attracting unnecessary attention. While some scour clues about freed slaves and possible hideouts of the slave traders, Drake takes to the sky. He decided to search for the mysterious savior from the height of his flying skills. And the main character already senses a dangerous likelihood. The slave traders might have guessed they are being hunted and are now stubbornly preparing a strike for the next night. That same night, the group scatters across the city. Each begins their own investigation, while others secretly search for clues. The main character sneaks into one of the suspicious mansions, disguised and pretending to be a buyer. Inside, he finally stumbles upon the worst. The traders are indeed illegally selling demi-humans to the wealthy in morality. Without arousing suspicion, the main character continues to pretend that he is interested in these negotiations, Meanwhile, the trader proudly declares he actually sells innocent slaves hidden in a secret part of the mansion. When he has taken down the underground floors of this place, he finally finds the ultimate proof that conclusively exposes the entire illegal operation hidden in the shadows of the city. Having sneaked into the underground chambers, he sees dozens of demi-humans imprisoned in terrible conditions, and this confirms all the cruelty hidden behind that trafficking network. But before he can intervene, in the semi-darkness, an unexpected event flashes. Another hooded person has already sneaked inside and is trying by force to free the slaves. It becomes clear that the mysterious Avenger really exists. Silently observing, the hero sees a recently captured elf. He is displayed as merchandise before illegal buyers, and this sight fills him with a wave of disgust. He does not remove his mask and, as if nothing happened, calmly approaches, asks to speak with the girl, at the same time trying to understand who she is and what he can do to avoid driving all the slaves into even greater danger. When the main character tried to talk to the elf, he suddenly realized something completely unexpected. That girl was actually Shinku. He infiltrated there undercover to scout the place from the inside, and he himself got fiercely irritated by how convincingly it looked. She explains that she took on this role to find out where the freed slaves are taken, and both of them still need to behave as usual so that no suspicions arise inside the mansion itself. For the disguise to work flawlessly, the main character pretends to be negotiating the purchase of Shinku, as if she were truly a rare slave. Even in this guise, he looks so real that it becomes creepy. Taking advantage of the moment, he buys time and prevents anyone from harming her until the next night. He made it clear to the trader he will return later and personally finalize the deal. Leaving the estate so that no one suspected, the main character finally confirmed there really is a whole network of illegal trade in morality, and he fears that Shinku might have ended up among these criminals. Confident in her strength, he quickly gathers again with Drake and Kinu to share the obtained information and determine the next step before the large-scale operation the following night. Comparing the data, Drake and Kinu just nod. Suspicious activity has not yet been noticed in other parts of the city. The main character decides to bring them both back to the room and tell everything how Shinku infiltrated the human trafficker's mansion. This completely shocked both of them. She had to face incredibly terrifying danger alone. Even when fear gripped their hearts, the group clearly realized Shinku's infiltration gave the perfect chance to strike the traffickers already the next night. While Drake does not tire of patrolling the sky in search of the slightest suspicious movements, the main hero organizes all the collected data and secretly maintains telepathic contact with Shinku, carefully preparing an attack that could finally sweep away the entire criminal network of Moralda. Next morning, the hero quietly returns to the outskirts of the estate and carefully watches every movement around the trader's hideout. Shortly before the operation begins, Drake contacts from the sky and warns he noticed a very suspicious person who was almost imperceptibly hiding in the neighboring alleys. Thus, the mysterious Avenger has finally appeared. Noticing that the movement around the estate sharply intensified, the hero immediately realized the human traffickers have already reinforced the security. They were expecting an attack that very night. Drake and Roger remain observing from afar, and he decides to scout the surroundings of the hideout himself. He notices how the mysterious intruder glides through the city shadows with incredible precision and flawless skill. Finally, reaching the mysterious stranger in the city alleys, the hero was the first to launch an attack, accelerating with his electric speed to immediately test the opponent. But the hooded person reacted instantly. The strike was blocked without any visible effort, and the skill impressed, at least absurdly so. Before the fight could escalate further, an unknown figure intervened and declared that they were not an enemy. They had simply appeared to help neutralize the traffickers. After that, the mysterious Avenger boldly admitted their spy was already inside the estate. And to prove that they are on the same side, he explained how they managed to completely hide their presence under a special cloak that confuses the enemy. Realizing that the stranger would attack immediately if he were truly an enemy, the main character finally silently agrees to unite in order to neutralize the traffickers together. The mysterious Avenger cuts off unnecessary hesitation. There is no time to act cautiously anymore. Several elves will be sold the next day, so he immediately lays out a quick plan. Enter first alone, free the prisoners, and open the cells. Soon the hero bursts in to neutralize the guards and help with the rescue. Before starting the operation, finally, they exchanged names and formed a temporary alliance to defeat the human traffickers together. Although suspicious, the mysterious Avenger still agrees to cooperate with On. And he steps forward first to begin the silent invasion of the mansion. Putting on the same mask he had last night again, On returns to the mansion alone and deceives the traffickers once more. Even noticing the increased security around the place, he still does not retreat. Janes calms the criminals and convinces them once again to take him to the underground cells where slaves were previously kept. Noticing strange movements in the cells, the traffickers nervously exchange glances and immediately decide to check the surroundings. On took advantage of the moment, manipulates the criminal so that he goes to talk with the slave alone, while she secretly passes the rest of the plan to Nelfi to prepare the beginning of the invasion. While N remained underground in disguise, Nelfi launches a silent invasion and in a matter of seconds quickly and precisely takes down several guards. At that very moment she returns. The keys to the cell are already in her hands. Finally there is confirmation, the path is open, time to rescue the slaves, after freeing the prisoners. Nelfi says that in the second hideout in the eastern district of the city, many other slaves are still hiding. She goes alone to continue the mission, while On and the rest secretly carry the prisoners out of the mansion before the traitors notice the attack. After the slaves are taken to a safe place, Nelfi finally admits that she is a dark elf, and the people she saved thank her sincerely with tears in their eyes. Even despite all the initial suspicions, the group understands. Nelfi risks her own life to protect the slaves and put an end to the morality traitors. On solemnly introduces his group to Nelfi and explains, they are the Black Thunder Strike Clan, an S-rank team that takes on the most dangerous missions. But when it becomes clear that the freed slaves are still in danger in the city, Nelfi decides to help them safely reach their hidden homeland deep in the Elysian forest. Nelfi reveals the devastating truth about her homeland, the legendary Forest of Illusions. Everyone called impassable for non-elves was completely destroyed. The invaders burned the entire village to the ground, killed the men, and kidnapped the women. Saving only those who survived, he left them homeless and forced them to return empty-handed even if they did not witness the attack with their own eyes. Nelfi, listening to the testimonies of the survivors, learned a red-haired man with a fiery sword personally took part in the massacre in the Forest of Illusions. Hearing the story, the group finally named the culprit Pride. As soon as this name was spoken, Pride Drake. Drake instantly recognized the same red-haired swordsman who once wounded him with a cursed sword. Nelfi confirmed and told that during the trip to Morality, she heard the survivors discussing him. This made On connect the massacre in the Elysian forest with the man who forever marked his life. On already understands. The one who arranged the slaughter in the forest is the red-haired swordsman connected to Drake's past and the wound inflicted by the cursed sword. Even in shock, he postpones revenge and prioritizes evacuating the survivors. First of all, he prefers characteristics that enhance agility and combat style, and only then chooses which next form to try on, considering evolution. Dumeki ponders a strange option but does not manage to grasp a decision as a violent transformation immediately begins. He didn't even have time to choose anything. The body decided for him, and Dumeki felt with surprise how the pain of evolution overwhelmed him completely. After the forced evolution, Dumeki throws himself into an even more radical transformation. When he begins to turn into something demonic, horns grow by themselves and the indicators sharply jump. Checking his status, Dumeki realizes with excitement. His skills and abilities are noticeably enhanced. This is a new stage of his growth. Both as he advances, Dumeki encountered a stronger group. It was led by an orc general of rank D, and next to him stood a swordsman, a mage, and a guard of the same level, and they all immediately made it clear that the danger was real. He felt that this group was a much more serious challenge, so only then did he decide how to act. Standing before the elite group, Dumeki activates a skill that increases his strength and moves into battle. Scanning the enemies, he instantly notices the orc general, the most dangerous threat, and decides to strike him first. Dumeki rushed to the group, but the subordinates stood in his way. Altogether, they launched an attack to protect him. Even under the pressure of several enemies, he does not retreat. He breaks forward right into the defensive line, striving to break through to the general. During the clash, Dumeki suddenly felt how much his strength had increased after the transformation. Now, he deals with enemies without the exhausting effort that was still needed recently. And even alone, he is capable of resisting monsters of rank D, those that previously required a whole group to oppose. Combining his new power with the experience gained in the times when he was human, Dumeki begins to fight much more effectively and skillfully. When he finally takes control of the battlefield, a thought suddenly dawns on him. He is already very close, almost at the level of an adventurer of rank A. Seizing the course of the battle, Dumeki immediately loses interest in the skirmish and shifts his gaze to the enemies with outright contempt. His confidence is glaring. He looks at them as if they are creatures far inferior, and his whole body makes it clear they no longer threaten him. Before the last door, Dumeki concludes. Behind it must be the dungeon boss, possibly the Orc King himself. Facing the worst forecast, Dumeki prepares to move forward, keeping only one goal in mind: the meeting with the boss. Dumeki opens the door and enters the boss's room. He finds a wide and empty space. Moving forward cautiously, he feels the real trial is about to begin. In the room, Dumeki encounters the real trial. Several ranks notice berserk orcs waiting for them, and behind stands a larger figure, the obvious leader. Overestimating the enemy's strength, he suddenly clearly realizes he has entered a much more dangerous battle. And so it turns out who the real boss is: a red ogre of rank B, incredibly stronger than the previous opponents, surrounded by berserkers. Dumeki understands if he goes headlong against all of them, he won't hold out. Therefore, he must act wisely in a way to survive. When he finds himself outnumbered, Dumeki instantly makes a plan. First, neutralize the berserkers to relieve some pressure. Using his speed, he suddenly rushes forward and unexpectedly attacks one of them. Thus, his plan begins to break down into one-on-one fights. Dumeki takes out a berserker, but the ogre notices his move and reacts instantly. He coordinates attacks with others, not allowing the fight to be split and him isolated. But again surrounded, Dumeki realizes the clash will be more difficult than he planned. The ogre bursts into the fight and launches a direct attack, pressing Dumeki with his overwhelming strength and longer reach. He is hit by a sudden attack. He freezes for a moment from surprise and is forced to instantly orient himself to dodge the blow. When the ogre attacks, Dumeki feels it from within. He will not withstand a direct hit. Keeping calm, he gathers himself to nothing and prepares to respond cautiously, remembering that he must act strategically to survive. Gathering his thoughts, Dumeki reminds himself he must not falter before a stronger enemy. Resolutely, he moves again, adjusts his stance, and begins a continuous counterattack. Dumeki barely dodged the attacks of the ogres and immediately used the moment to strike back. Quickly and accurately, he delivers blows one after another, inflicting wounds on the enemy and gradually leveling the course of the battle. Even against a stronger opponent, Dumeki does not ease the pressure. He continues the attack and gives no room for reaction. He delivers even faster, even more precise strikes, hitting the ogre's vital points and increasing the inflicted damage. Despite fierce resistance, he does not retreat. He aims to finish the fight here and now. The ogre flared up with rage and launched a counterattack. Brute force, one blow, and he tried to crush Dumeki. Even under his pressure, Dumeki stood firm, absorbing the barrage and giving an aggressive response, so the fight remained even: speed against strength, direct confrontation. But as soon as a gap appeared, Dumeki seized the chance. He delivered a decisive blow and knocked down the ogre. The end of the fight came instantly. After the victory, he finally fell silent and felt that during the clash he had lost control again. He firmly realized from now on he would have to learn to better control his instincts. After the victory, Dumeki understood. Going against an enemy stronger than him without a weapon is too risky. Checking his status, he suddenly discovered a new skill. It allows analyzing weapons and equipment, thus opening more options for future battles. After defeating the boss, the body disappears, and in its place appears a chest with a reward interesting. Dumeki decides to open it, as it might become a new opportunity to get something useful for his evolution. Dumeki opened the chest. Inside lay a huge iron mace of the Red Ogre. Using his skill, he recognizes the item and immediately understands that it has high attack power and destructive effects. He feels that he has finally obtained a powerful weapon. With the new weapon in hand, Dumeki studies its effect and with surprise realizes the mace is incredibly destructive, so it can damage even other weapons and armor. Having figured out the rarity system, he understands that he holds a valuable item and decides to use it to become even stronger in future battles. Dumeki comes across a rare magical bag that holds an incredible amount of items. Carefully examining it, he decides to keep the bag for himself rather than sell it. Next, he gathers the remains of the enemies and prepares to leave the dungeon, heading towards the exit circle. Before stepping outside, Dumeki notices a strange device on the wall like a button. Suspecting a trap, he stops and chooses to act cautiously. He considers all options but ultimately takes a risk, presses the button to find out what the plan is and what will happen. As soon as the button is triggered, a secret passage opens and a new path appears in the dungeon. Feeling that more might be hidden beyond the usual route, Dumeki turns precisely there. Passing through the secret passage, Dumeki emerges not into the dungeon but into a quiet place with water and greenery around. This change confuses him, as if he fell into an unusual, possibly special, hidden space. In this hidden space, Dumeki comes across an altar located right in the middle of a lake. Above that object hovered a luminous sphere. Intrigued, he approached closer and felt inside unusual energy, so perhaps it was something special. Just lifting the sphere, Dumeki felt a strange attraction. It suddenly appeared before him as something edible and at the same time aroused suspicion. Instinct loudly suggested he decided to eat it because constant hunger gave him no peace. Before swallowing the sphere, Dumeki hesitates. Memories flash lessons from his former master, who taught not to act merely on impulse. But this moment of reflection makes him doubt his decision and returns a part of his human consciousness. Having swallowed the sphere, Dumeki feels an unexpected transformation. Energy runs through his body in waves. It responds and a system message appears before him. He becomes the dungeon master, but from shock he freezes, suddenly realizing, from now on this place is in his hands. Such a shift elevates his life far beyond mere survival. Just as the swallowing finishes, an unexpected creature appears, a talking piglet in a box, grumbling, as if it was almost eaten. While Dumeki, surprised, realizes that before him is not an ordinary monster. Something related to the dungeon core, the pig declares she is ours. And then it becomes clear that this is the very core of the dungeon. Dumeki concludes, by absorbing it, he awakened consciousness and now they are connected, so everything has become even stranger. Ours explains that the dungeon core controls everything even without a master, but now this role has been taken by Dumeki. As soon as he becomes the master, he immediately transforms into the labyrinth administrator and learns the name of this place, the Forenvar Labyrinth. Ours explains, as the dungeon master, Dumeki can use dungeon points to control everything, to build floors and rooms, fill them with chests, and summon monsters. Each time points increase when creatures act or die on the territory. This is the source of the labyrinth's energy. Dumeki begins to test his abilities and increasingly clearly understands how the whole system works. He is able to create things for a few points and even reproduce monsters he has already defeated. Ours explains, the enemy's energy is absorbed and converted into these points, and this is how control over the labyrinth firmly falls into his hands. Overwhelmed with information, Dumeki decides to use the remaining points to create a safe base. He arranges a bed, lays out the essentials, and for the first time in several days finally rests in the dungeon, which is now under his control. Upon waking, Dumeki realizes it was real. He truly absorbed the dungeon core. Now, having realized the new reality, he feels that his life has completely changed and that he himself controls this place. Dumeki wakes up and finds out that he has overslept for 3 days, and our people have set up a room next to the core so that he can rest. Ours says, even without a master, the heart of the dungeon will still beat, but now it is officially under Dumeki's control. When everything is in order, Dumeki decides to leave the dungeon and explore the outside world. He agrees with us to keep in touch and vows to return later. He leaves the heart to handle the labyrinth, and he himself moves on to his next stage. Outside, Dumeki pulls up his hood, hides his face, and returns to where it all began. Scanning the surroundings, he identifies the next target and resolutely heads to the plains, ready to become stronger beyond the dungeon. Already on the plains, Dumetsky rushes forward, hunting monsters along the way. Accustomed to the new life, he does not stand still, constantly moving and changing. He turns every encounter into an opportunity to become stronger. Dumetsky easily deals with rank D monsters on the way, already handling them without any difficulties. During the hunt, he senses something unusual ahead, a sign that a new strange encounter awaits him. Dumetsky stumbles upon a pack of rank C wolves, and immediately notices, besides them, the group is led by a completely different creature. Even though outnumbered, he carefully watches what is happening around. Glancing at the scene, they understand this fight will be much more dangerous than all the previous ones. Dumetsky is captivated by the creature's determination. It boldly stands against several enemies at once and does not retreat. Seeing a chance, he decides to act, as if reducing himself to nothing, becoming more agile and preparing to enter the fight. Suddenly, Dumetsky crashes into the skirmish, pushing away the wolves and extending his hand as if calling them after him. The creature, realizing he is not an enemy, responds cautiously. Its movements reveal intelligence. It clearly knows what is happening. Dumetsky stands between the creature and the wolves and speaks quietly and evenly, making it clear that there is no threat. The pack bursts with aggression and rushes into attack. Turning the situation into an inevitable confrontation, Dumetsky reacts even before the attacks reach him, using lightning speed. He dodges and immediately counterattacks, slicing through the crowd with fast and precise strikes. He dictates the pace of the fight and demonstrates absolute superiority. Easily dealing with the wolves, Dumetsky feels his strength far exceeds expectations, and this despite not having used all his abilities. Then he finds a healing potion and suddenly notices something strange in the creature he helped. Two tails, and immediately it's clear this is not a simple being. She is alone and does not pose a threat. Dumetsky approaches, friendly, interested in her. He invites her to go with him, offering to travel together from now on. The creature accepts the offer. A bond ignites between them. Dumetsky suddenly realizes he has created a kind of subordination contract that establishes a direct connection with her. Not fully understanding how it works, he feels he is no longer alone. Dumetsky learns that the creature's name is Kinu and casually talks with her, quickly growing closer. He decides to help her become stronger, and thus their joint journey begins. Dumetsky and Kinu set out together and rushed into battle side by side, not wasting a second. He examines her true power and feels, if only she is well prepared, she will challenge even stronger enemies and their bond will only grow stronger. After the clash, Dumetsky asks Kinu to rest while he keeps watch. During the pause, she begins to evolve and makes it clear that beside him she can become even stronger. Kinu successfully completes her evolution and returns hardened, more powerful than ever. Dumetsky gladly accepts the decision to continue the journey together with her. Continuing their journey, they both changed and grew up together, heading towards the next goal. Kinu, using magic, showed her new ability and stunned Dumetsky. He understands that, besides the fact that she is stronger, she has special abilities, and this makes their duo even stronger against future trials. During the journey, Dumetsky encounters a small humanoid creature who introduces himself as Balbal, a traveling merchant. Surprised, he realizes that other intelligent races exist, begins communicating with them, and opens doors to new opportunities beyond the dungeon. Dumetsky tries to buy meat, but the merchant, looking at his needy appearance, only sighs. The problem is much bigger. In the neighboring village, people barely survive. They are troubled by a monster invasion, so food is catastrophically scarce. Hearing this, Dumetsky gives the meat for free, and a new conflict again stretches beyond the dungeon. To show gratitude, Dumetsky sincerely tells the merchant that if help is needed later, he will come to assist. He says that his name is On. When Kinu reacts to the name, a light, warm moment flashes. She strengthens the beginning of this new connection and their journey beyond the dungeon. Dumetsky shows a huge pile of collected meat, and the merchant does not hide how impressed he is by his skill. Hiding his own abilities, he said goodbye, having just helped, leaving a pleasant impression, and set off on the road together with Kinu. The journey continues. Dumetsky and Kinu walk side by side across endless plains, not breaking their pace. He walks ahead, leading to the next goal, constantly vigilant of everything around. They confidently keep in step. Dumetsky stumbles upon a hidden magic circle and, as if struck, realizes he has been here before. Although he does not remember it clearly, as soon as his gaze rests on that place, suddenly a voice echoed in his head, telepathically connected with him, and hinted that something much bigger is about to happen. The voice broke the silence. Dumetsky signed a subordination contract with Kinu and explained how by connecting directly to check her status. Filled with curiosity, he immediately does this touches Kinu to confirm the received information and better understand this new ability. When he checked Kinu's condition, Dumeki is stunned by her level and abilities. He feels even if she has little physical strength. Her mind and magical powers are incredibly strong, so it is no wonder she survived when surrounded by wolves. Having analyzed Kinu's traits, Dumeki better understood her style and began to lead her behind him. He advises her to focus on intellect to further develop her magical abilities, and he asks her to test her healing power and behaves as if he is truly leading the growth of his partner. During the healing power trials, Kinu Dumeki notices her ability strengthens along with the level of intellect, and this becomes confirmation that she can become a true sorceress. Impressed, he begins to imagine an even better future for her, believing that she can grow into a being of legendary level. Inspired, he calls this their shared goal, and this further strengthens their partnership. Dumeki, with renewed determination, reinforces his own intention to reach the legendary level together. Kinu nods enthusiastically and accepts the task. Their cooperation is immediately anchored by a clear goal to constantly grow. The goal is set, Dumeki decides to return to the dungeon together with Kinu. He draws a simple plan to defeat every monster encountered and devour those possible, using this place as the ideal point for rapid evolution and growing stronger together. Returning to the dungeon, Dumeki acts according to the plan and without hesitation throws himself into battle with new monsters. During the fight, he also tests Kinu, asks if she can eat monster meat, increasingly involving her in their evolution strategy. In the heat of battle, Kinu activates her abilities and rapidly recovers, finally proving she is capable of confidently enduring any fight. While the battle continues, Dumeki throws events back into memory and suddenly clearly understands how much he has changed since the times when he was still human. Reaching the 29th level, Dumeki felt he was already on the threshold of a new transformation. He remembered how at the 10th he became a ghoul, and now he was sure that at the 30th another change awaited him. Anticipating this, he warns Kinu. During the transformation for a few minutes he will be defenseless and asks her to cover him. Trusting her, he prepares to take another step in his transformation. Kinu responds enthusiastically and without any hesitation, further strengthening their trust in each other. Dumeki walks deeper into the dungeon, and his determination burns even brighter. Silently exterminating goblins on the way, he does not slow down until the moment of his next evolution comes. In battle with new enemies, Dumeki feels this is his time. He tells Kinu that his transformation is about to begin, entrusts her with the rest of the fight, and makes it clear that when he becomes vulnerable, he will rely on her protection. While Kinu intercepts the course of the battle, Dumeki enters the process of evolution. Suddenly, a new interface flashes on the screen. It allows choosing characteristics and even decides which evolutionary path to take next. Without having time to think, trusting his intuition, he quickly scrolls through the options and launches a transformation even more significant than before. Faced with evolution options, Dumeki pauses for a moment, feeling the full weight of the choice. Among powerful paths such as the doppelganger and the thunder ogre, he recalls the promise he made to Kinu. Holding on to this connection, he decisively rejects doubts and chooses the path that best suits his goals. While Dumeki undergoes evolution, Kinu completely takes control of the situation. Alone, she fiercely fights the enemies, covering him while he is defenseless, and proves that she confidently holds the front line even without help. Dumeki completes the evolution and immediately feels the changes, feeling how his body became lighter and more obedient, and the pain subsided more noticeably than he expected. Dumeki did not waste a second. He asked Kinu to watch while he himself checked his new state, full of determination to find out how much stronger he became after the transformation. Glancing at his new status, Dumeki immediately understood. Evolution gave him a colossal leap in strength. Now, controlling the electric element, he unlocked magic and new skills that sharply enhanced both power and agility and instantly calculated their synergies. Activating his techniques, he multiplied his characteristics several times and, thanks to special steps, began to fly in battle. And then he clearly felt his fighting style completely changed. It became significantly faster, more explosive, and noticeably more versatile. But even after evolution, Dumeki sadly realized he was still far from the desired level. Thanking Kinu for the support, he moves further into the dungeon, focused on testing his new abilities as best as possible. With this, they ascend to the next floor, determined to move even further and explore all the new possibilities that have just opened. After hours of continuous fighting, Dumeki cleared the path, dealing with all the enemies on this floor. Exhausted but satisfied with the progress, he finally decides to ascend to the second floor of the dungeon side by side with Kinu, ready for tougher trials. As soon as Dumeki arrived on the second floor, he was met by a room filled with enemies that appeared simultaneously. Unafraid, he confidently takes control of the situation and says that now it is easy for him. Kinu offers help if the situation becomes dangerous, and they prepare together to face a new wave of monsters. It is so clearly visible how much they have changed since the very beginning. Dumeki gives Kinu the opportunity to fight. He trusts her in battle with enemies on the second floor. Kinu lures the enemies onto herself and with one push of mass magic destroys them all at once, and Dumeki only nods approvingly, recognizing such a strategy as correct. Kinu defeats several enemies with a cunning plan and at the same time does not receive a single wound. It is obvious how much she has grown in battle. Dumeki watches with admiration and praises her, understanding she already fights smarter and more effectively. Dumeki checks Kinu's condition and sees that she has evolved into a celestial fox. Suddenly her mind, agility, and endurance have increased many times. Moreover, she has mastered the skill clarity, which has further sharpened her intellect. Only realizing this, he instantly adjusts the strategy and orders Kinu to use magic, taking advantage of the new advantage. Having assessed Kinu's evolution, Dumeki decides to test his new abilities. He calls Kinu, focuses, and leaves the dungeon heading to an open area to more freely deploy his powers. Dumeki understands, although everything looks like an open field, he is actually still in the dungeon, so he decides to use this space to test his skills, and Kinu immediately notices how difficult it is to explore its corners. Soon he encounters new enemies, black wolves of rank D, and focuses, preparing for battle. Dumeki sets course for his new magical light sphere. He unleashes several ranged attacks on the wolves. The strikes hit, but none can defeat them, so it becomes clear that he still needs to learn to better combine his skills to deliver a decisive blow. Dumeki understands that magic changes the enemy's movements and immediately sees his advantage in this. Excited, he decides to use this effect to more easily resolve the fight. And like an arrow, he rushes into attack to finish off the wolves in close combat. Dumeki activates Lightning Flash. His strength and agility instantly increase, and he swiftly deals with the wolves. Satisfied, he decides to save this entire combo for the boss, and Kinu acknowledges his power. Dumeki finds the boss's tower and immediately notices the entrance to the boss's room. At the entrance, he sees the guardians, a troll and a higher-ranked wolf, both rank C. He reads this as a challenge and prepares for confrontation. Dumeki instantly analyzes trolls regenerate, so a prolonged fight is a bad idea. He splits the skirmisher. He orders Kinu to hold back the bigger wolf and himself charges at the trolls. Provoking them, he forces them to focus on him and take control of the battlefield. Dumeki activates Charged Saudon. The weapon hisses with electricity, strength and agility explode, and he unleashes even faster and heavier strikes on the trolls. Electricity is on, and Dumeki realizes the troll's regeneration can't keep up with the damage it receives. Seizing the chance, he intensifies the pressure and doesn't let the enemy rest, shortening the fight to mere moments. Dumeki delivers quick and heavy blows and destroys one of the trolls. Only one enemy remains in the battle. Dumeki deals with the last troll in a few seconds, showing how indisputably he dominates in battle, and at the same time, he notices Kina in danger and instantly rushes to her aid. "Help her," shouts Dumeki, seeing Kina being pressured, and decides to intervene. But even before that, Kina takes the initiative herself, activates magic, counterattacks, and pushes the enemy back. Kina senses a strike flying from behind her and reacts lightning fast, not allowing it to unfold. She counterattacks from afar with magic, cuts off the ambush, and keeps the fight fully under control. After the battle, Dumeki praises Kina wholeheartedly and, before diving into the boss fight, decides to rest a bit. Then he opens the chest and takes out a rare item, earrings that hide his status, but they are powerless against high-level detection. When Kina regained consciousness, Dumeki was already ready. He first wanted to test the new item and only then move on. Confident in himself, he opens the door to the boss's room and walks straight towards the final confrontation. Inside, Dumeki encounters two B-level ogres, one with a horse's head, the other with a bull's head. He lays out the plan. First, he keeps the attention on the horse, and Kinu supports and restrains the other with magic. Dumeki makes the first move. Using a lightning orb, he pressures from afar, tests the enemy, and keeps his distance. As soon as he entered close combat, he realized the ogre is faster than expected and immediately adapted. In a direct clash, Dumeki feels that the ogre is stronger than he thought, almost like a red ogre, but he does not retreat and still rushes forward, trying to break the enemy's weapon to gain an advantage. Dumetsky strikes up close, breaks the ogre's weapon, and opens a gap, but suddenly hears a blow in the middle of the fight. And suddenly notices Kinu has fallen, so his attention instantly shifts. Dumetsky rushes to Kinu and checks her condition. She is unconscious but alive. Breathing a sigh of relief, he moves her to a safe place so she can rest, but still his anxiety about the situation gnaws at him. Seeing the wounded Kina, Dumetsky flares up with rage and launches his most powerful combo. He throws himself with all his might simultaneously at both ogres, determined to finish them off and not holding back. Dumetsky attacks at full force, combining physical strength with a lightning bullet. He presses mercilessly, delivering blow after blow, pushing the enemy against the wall and leaving him no chance to respond. Dumetsky uses an air step to move in the air and maintain constant pressure. He taunts the horned ogre but quickly regains composure and refocuses, not allowing himself to be distracted during the fight. Dumetsky seized the moment and delivered the decisive blow. The hit sent the ogre flying and the fight ended. As soon as both enemies are exhausted and fallen, he takes a deep breath and instantly shifts his gaze back to Kina. Anxiety is clearly written on his face. And only after the fight does the light suddenly spread. When there is nowhere else to run after the destruction of their homeland, the elves fully rely on the group in search of a new safe refuge. Having lost the village, the elves begin to see in Anne the very man who can truly be trusted. Nelfi, having no home anymore, seriously considers bringing the survivors to live in the dungeon in what is under their group's control. Believing that this place might be safer than continuing to flee from human traffickers and invaders, Anne understands the elves no longer have any safe place to live, so he decides to shelter everyone in his dungeon. And orders to negotiate with the survivors, while Nelfi explains to the refugees what is happening. The group took on organizing the relocation of the elves to their new home there, where monsters of the dungeon keep it under guard. Finally, all the survivors signed contracts and came under protection. So the group decides to start the evacuation right now to the dungeon Fort Noir, while our and other allies fix everything on the other side. He teleports the elves and by this officially gives the signal to begin rebuilding the new community in the dungeon. In the dungeon, when the half-humans have already made contact with the group through contracts, Nelfi learns that he was once a human, and hearing his story begins to trust him even more. He vows to give everyone a safe place and immediately begins preparations to nurture new life inside the dungeon. Thinking about the future of the refugees and completely remodels the dungeon, turning it into a truly safe city. He arranges housing for the half-humans so they can live freely, and builds workshops where elves and gnomes create clothes, jewelry, weapons, and armor, giving the survivors a chance to rebuild life from scratch. When the refugees finally settle and find safety inside the dungeon, the group sees that hope is breaking through again in the survivors who lost everything. Having tidied up the rooms and taken control of the situation, Anne gathers her comrades to discuss the next step, to launch a decisive offensive against the traffickers behind this whole tragedy. During the meeting, Anne decides to punish not only the human traffickers but also the nobles who supported the slavery scheme so that the real culprits do not slip away, and everyone agrees to act cautiously. And to maintain the mask of normality until enough evidence is gathered. As part of the plan, Anne decides to visit the human traffickers again the next day so that they believe, after the night attack, it seemed as if nothing had happened. Having seen everything the group did for the refugees, Nelfi officially decides to ask to be accepted into the Black Thunder clan. She wants not only to join the fight against human traffickers and corrupt nobles, but also to repay Anne and his companions for the support they gave her after losing her homeland. He immediately accepted Nelfi into the clan, understanding that her combat and espionage skills would become critically important for the group. While the comrades celebrated the arrival of the new member, Shink quietly honed her sneaking skills. Watching Nelfi in action, she caught herself thinking that she still had much to learn. After the operation was completed, Anne finally angrily scolded Shink for taking such a risk during the infiltration of the human trafficker's estate. The group clearly showed how important it was to everyone, and Shink realized that she no longer had to carry everything alone. When the tension finally subsided, Nelfi began to see the Black Thunder clan as a real family. As the bonds within the clan grew even stronger, the group finally focused on pride. The red-haired swordsman who stands behind the massacre in the Illusion Forest admits, perhaps he had seen this man before back when he himself was a novice adventurer. His distant past suddenly intertwines with the enemy that must now be defeated. Recalling the name Pride, Anne decides to stop hiding and tells the group the whole truth about his past. He admits that many years ago he was betrayed by his own partners just after he received rank D and took his first mission of taming, but that betrayal almost cost him his life and forever changed his fate. A year ago, still a novice adventurer, recently promoted to rank D, Anne embarks on her first important mission with a more experienced group, and during the operation accidentally stumbles upon a mysterious, extremely rare egg that moment by moment ignites the curiosity of everyone around. At the auction, the mysterious egg instantly attracted the attention of all adventurers and nobles. Its price was simply insane. Anne without hesitation tore through the hall, announcing a bid of 5,000 gold for the relic, so even her companions froze at such a gigantic figure. Anne's absurd offer won the auction instantly. The mysterious egg ended up with her even before the other buyers could somehow recover. Even though the companions were still stunned and had spent their entire fortune at once, the group quickly finalized the purchase, unaware that from then on this item would forever change Anne's fate. Just after acquiring the mysterious egg at the auction, the group decided to continue exploring rare items in the West, and Shink enthusiastically celebrated his new acquisition. He himself did not suspect that he had taken the first step toward an event that would completely change his life in the future. The next day, when they already believed they would finally have a moment of peace before the next battle, a man from the clan of the Star Lord approached the group, and his unexpected appearance instantly drew the attention of Anne and his companions. It became clear that new problems were beginning. Anne immediately realized that this was not an ordinary merchant, especially when he noticed a guard next to him associated with the royal knights. Soon the group learned that the visitor was an undercover prince of the kingdom, such a significant figure that even his subordinates demanded immediate respect in his presence. The mysterious guest finally removed his mask and revealed his real name, Luzark Alt, the second prince of the kingdom of Alto. Even without any official status, he immediately made it clear he came to Anne only out of personal interest. Noticing in himself the unusual strength and intelligence of the leader of the Black Thunder, he quietly started a conversation away from the watchful eyes of the kingdom. Seeing the performance of Black Thunderclap at the tournament and noticing Anna's strange behavior at the auction, Prince Luzark became even more concerned about this group. The group, having convinced himself that An was not an ordinary adventurer, he decided to personally address the party leader and win the big-ranking battle on which the future of the kingdom's clans depended. Although he does not reveal all his intentions, the prince clearly makes it known, at the ranking tournament from Black Thunderclap he expects real great success. An accepts the challenge without hesitation and promises to show a power that far surpasses anything anyone in the kingdom has ever seen, and Luzark is burning with curiosity about the true potential of that mysterious group. The next day the tournament finally starts and the Black Thunderclap enters the arena. All eyes are on them after impressive performances in recent days, and a giant sum was bet on the team, 5,000 gold coins. Nelfi steps onto the front line for the first time, and the entire arena is watching Anna's team. Before the fight begins, they carefully study the opponents they will face in the first round of the tournament, and quickly realize that the Fortissimo clan was created by a group known for using charms and seduction to manipulate opponents. While the arena goes wild at the appearance of the enemies, Nelfi immediately becomes alert. He feels that the fight hides a much greater danger than it may seem. A moment before the fight begins, members of the Fortissimo clan try to disrupt the balance and destabilize the Black Thunderclap. He plays with charm and allows himself spicy hints directed at An and others from the group, but Nelfi instantly sees the trick and fully focuses on the battle that is about to explode. Before the clash, Nelfi exchanges direct provocations with the leader of the Fortissimo clan, clearly making it known she will not be intimidated. Standing aside and watching as two come out against each other in the arena, Anne realizes Nelfi is much stronger than he had imagined, and right now, in front of the entire crowd, the second round of the tournament finally begins. As soon as the fight starts, Nelfi shows absurd precision and almost immediately defeats opponents by attacking from afar quickly and lethally. Not giving the Fortissimo clan any chance to recover, she wins victories one after another for Black Thunderclap and stuns the entire arena with her devastating skill. In the next fight, the vice-captain of Fortissimo launches an attack, betting on speed and continuous pressure to neutralize Nelfi's ranged attacks. But Nelfi, skilled at hiding, instantly disappears from the opponent's sight and with one unexpected strike puts an end to the fight, further cementing Black Thunderclap's absolute domination in the tournament. After Nelfi easily deals with another opponent again, she secures another victory for Black Thunderclap, and the entire arena instantly shifts their gaze to her. Impressed by her incredible, almost inhuman strength, the leader of the Fortissimo clan immediately tries to recruit her to his team. He sees the monstrous talent she demonstrated in the tournament. Nelfi instantly and decisively rejected the Fortissimo clan leader's offer, stating that she already belongs to the best clan. While the opponent hides his true intentions behind provocations and manipulations, Anne instantly realizes he simply wants to emotionally unbalance the opponents even before the main fight begins. Nelfi, looking more closely at the leader of the Fortissimo clan, began to suspect some of his connections might reach people from her past. While the pause before the main fight continues, she decided to test her suspicion and directly asked about Mardeg, leaving the opponent in shock as soon as he realized she knows that name. Lucas then said that Mardeg died several months ago during a taming mission that turned into a real bloody massacre in the Adventurers Guild. The news immediately struck Nelfi, especially when she learned that the man she was looking for lost everything after that catastrophe, and that buried any hope of reunion. As soon as the conversation about Mardeg was cut off, the main battle exploded at full speed, and the leader of the Fortissimo clan immediately launched an attack. But Nelfi responds with spells and paralyzing poison, showing that behind her absurd precision hides something immeasurably dangerous. She has also mastered extremely dangerous techniques that could take any opponent out of the fight in an instant. Even trying to resist, the leader of the Fortissimo clan ultimately completely succumbs to Nelfi's techniques. Taking advantage of the paralyzing poison effect, the leader of the Fortissimo clan again and finally fully yields to Nelfi's techniques. She swiftly finished the fight with precise strikes, granting Black Thunderclap an absolute victory and showing the entire arena. Before them stands an inhumanly powerful warrior. One after another convincing, devastating victories, and Nelfi practically puts the final point in the tournament herself, ensuring Black Thunderclap's triumph without any doubts. After the clash, even N was stunned. He realized how much the new member had grown and officially acknowledged the colossal power he brought to the clan. After the tournament, Nelfi flips through another terrible page from Pride's past and says that it was he who, taking Mardeg's magical sword, drove the dragon insane and only then attacked Drake. Although the group is already partially clear about what happened, they still do not know the real reason for Pride's actions, so they will have to find him personally and learn the whole truth. After winning the tournament, Black Thunderclap receives a huge gold prize but very soon discovers new rules will limit bets in the next rounds. But On does not lose sight of the main goal. He gathers enough resources to further develop the half-human settlement. In their free time, the group trains relentlessly, honing skills and strengthening everything new they have already managed to acquire. When the tournament temporarily ended, the group decided to spend the rest of the day like normal people to practice and finally rest well. While part of the group heads to the training ground, Anne notices Kinu seems to have wanted to try sweets for the first time, and after so many conflicts and fierce battles, the atmosphere finally becomes lighter. Anne decided to take Kinu to a cafe in the city before dinner with the rest of the group, and for the first time in a long while, they were able to enjoy a simple, quiet moment together. Walking the streets, tasting sweets, and trying to relax after so many difficult events. While they comfortably spend time in the cafe, Anne tries to get to know Kinu better and realizes how sincere and simple her feelings are. Without hesitation, Kinu admits she liked Anne more than anything. She also confesses that she adores flowers and plants. Hearing this, Anne immediately begins to imagine how to make her new home in Forêt Noire even cozier. Having spent time together in the cafe, the group gathers again to discuss preparations for the next tournament fight, and she uplifted by recent training and the new weapon she is mastering better and better. Shink voluntarily takes on leading the vanguard in the next battle. She wants to prove that she is also capable of leading the clan's front line. Hina begins to evolve as soon as she reaches level 30. Dumetsky approaches, visibly concerned. But the transformation is already nearing its end. She takes on a human form, although fox-like features still show in her traits. Confused and curious, Kinu speaks for the first time like a human. Dumek was surprised by a simple and completely unexpected request. Kinu appears in human form and Dumek simply froze, speechless. He hurriedly tries to cover her and put on some kind of clothing, still completely bewildered. Dressed, she remains with an innocent and curious look, and Dumek, now calmer, tries to behave normally. Suddenly another chest appears and he rejoices at the luck, hoping to finally find something useful, and also thinks about how best to equip Kinu. From the chest, Dumeki takes out a rare artifact, the legendary ogre set, which noticeably enhances defense. Although the set is oriented towards men, he still decides to use it. Kinu easily throws on the cloak and remains protected, and Dumeki, already equipped, notices a mechanism on the wall, so before going further, it needs to be activated. Dumeki puts on the new equipment and beams with excitement. He says he looks like his grandfather, and Kinu silently watches, still getting used to the human form. Soon the mechanism works, stairs appear, and the path to the next level of the dungeon opens. Kinu tries to keep a serious look but is happy about the praise. Dumeki, excited, joyfully confirms that they have found the way to the central room and decides to move on. Together they step onto the stairs leading to the next floor, ready to advance deeper into the dungeon. They exit the dungeon and immediately find themselves in a bright clearing, where a giant tree stretches into the sky. They are drawn forward as if someone invisibly leads them with a strange presence. They find the heart of the dungeon. Hidden inside, it looks like a small sanctuary. Without hesitation, Dumeki approaches closer and directly absorbs the core, finally losing control over this place. When Dumeki absorbs the core, he becomes the new lord of the dungeon. His stats exceed the required level. Soon a strange guardian appears, a plush zombie wolf, obediently following the orders of its new master. Without wasting a minute, Dumeki puts the dungeon glasses into action and starts putting things in order in this place. He is already drawn to the future. He fantasizes about the structure and even imagines what clothes he will sew for quinoa. Dumeki takes the dungeon glasses and instantly obtains a high-level item, a rare yukata with defense bonuses. Kinu naively declares that she wants to be his partner, and Dumeki is left completely speechless. However, he agrees, tells her to change clothes, and immediately begins to behave as if the dungeon is now their territory. Keeper introduced himself as Eli's and confirmed Dumeki is the master of the Noir dungeon. They establish a connection. Eli's explains that as the master he feels and controls everything in the labyrinth. Then Dumeki acquires new abilities, Labyrinth Warp and Labyrinth Sync, and these further expand his control over the dungeon, while Eli's explains in detail how it works. Labyrinth Sync allows moving items and structures between dungeons and even sharing points, while Labyrinth Warp enables instant teleportation between controlled zones, and these functions can even be used by subordinates. Dumeki understands the basics and decides not to delve deeper for now. He still has few points, so he prefers to conserve resources, and he calmly considers how best to organize the dungeon before expansion. Kinu already appears in her yukata and gazes enthusiastically at the result. They decide to return to the Black Forest, temporarily leaving the dungeon under Elis's control before setting off. Dumeki checks Kinu's condition, satisfied with her progress, and they continue to remain partners, closer and more coordinated than ever. Dumeki verifies her status and realizes with surprise she has become incredibly strong, high defense, excellent healing, and powerful magical attacks. He understands that her human form is the result of some special ability, and sees that with such power she can become a key figure in future battles. Dumeki realized Kinu has become truly strong and dangerous, even though she still looks so cute. After several evolutions, he felt exhausted and decided to return to the Black Forest to rest, while Kinu meanwhile showed that she does not intend to stop, still striving to become stronger. They used the teleport in the dungeon and returned successfully without incident. Kinu appears in human form and Dumeki lays everything out, confirming every detail went according to plan. At the base they are warmly welcomed and a room is immediately prepared for Kinu. And they decide to rest. Kinu surprised him by asking to live in the same room with Dumeki, thus her innocence was revealed and at the same time how close she was to him. Kinu, barely trembling in her voice, admits that she is afraid to fall asleep alone and asks not to leave her to stay next to Dumeki. He hesitates, it seems strange to him, but ultimately he gives in, convinced that this is how care for a subordinate should look. In the end, they agree to sleep in the same room. Kinu is calm and satisfied. Finally, they fall asleep together, and Kinu sleeps peacefully next to him. Late at night, Dumeki briefly wakes up. He feels closeness nearby, but without any extra reaction. And so, after everything that happened, they finally rest. The day quiets down in peace. While Kinu rests, memories flood over her. She recalls her origin. She was born in an icy land, among other fox-like monsters. First, she was one of them. She lived a long, ordinary life alongside her own. Kinu changed, a second tail grew, and her fur shone with gold. Not understanding what had happened, Kinu was rejected. They suddenly began to see something alien and dangerous in her. Even when she wanted to believe that nothing had changed, she painfully realized her relatives also began to perceive her as a threat. Rejected and persecuted, Kinu is already fleeing without strength. Fighting alone is beyond her power. Even wounded, she sought not power but a simple feeling that she belongs to someone. She wanted to have family and friends, those who do not judge you just because you are different, exhausted without strength. Kinu faces the worst, standing before a pack of wolves. Without hope, she involuntarily stops because she believes this is the end. She is too tired to run and fight alone. Even cornered and wounded, Kinu desperately refuses to accept the end. At the last moment, a will to live flares up in her, and she decides to fight to the end. He challenged the pack, even if he found himself in a disadvantageous position. When everything seemed lost, Umatsuki appears and saves Kinu. He easily deals with the wolves and even takes care of her, and Kinu feels for the first time she is not afraid. She finally finds someone she can trust. After he saved her, Dumek realizes Kinu was alone and defenseless. Without hesitation, he extends his hand to help her and calls her to go with him, giving her a chance to finally not be alone. Kinu accepts the invitation, grows closer to Dumek, and for the first time feels something warm inside. He gives her a name and by this firmly binds them, promising that they can be together, though different. Thus their partnership begins. Kinu remembers every moment spent with Dumeki. She became stronger, transformed, and they fought side by side. Yet still, seeing how he worries about her, she feels she has not yet repaid him, and firmly decides to become needed by him. And Kinu confesses she wants to become like Dumeki, strong and reliable. Waking up, Kinu once again confirms herself before him. This is not just an emotion, but a step to change and fight alongside him as equals. She accepts who she has become, gains confidence because she knows Dumechi will never leave her. Form or race do not matter, their closeness is important. So she decides to cherish every moment together, believes in happier days, and realizes Dumechi has become the most important person to her. Even understanding that he will help many others, Kinu decides to stay close to become stronger and share her dreams. She wants to be someone special for him. The boy wakes up and notices the sleeping girl nearby. He remains silent. He watches her and tries not to wake her. The girl wakes up and sees that the boy is already awake. Confirming that it is true, she excitedly gets up. He calls both to talk about something truly important, and they go together. Together, the boy gathers everyone for a talk and says he wants to discuss recent events and his plans for the future. When he voices his ideas, others listen attentively and organize everything. In the process, he admits, meeting the girl turned his worldview upside down and now he is no longer alone. Since then, the group begins to better feel the connection between themselves and the path they will take together. The guy finally reveals the real goal. He wants to assemble a strong team of people he trusts. He sincerely shares the desire to create something that will last long because he is inspired by the idea of a united community. Emphasizing his own determination, he clearly makes it understood. He wants to move forward shoulder to shoulder with comrades, establish a strong bond, and walk together into the future. The group warmly accepts his plan and with frank interest strives to implement it as soon as possible. The boy determines the first steps. He suggests making the labyrinth the base for the new group while they themselves consider this idea. Doubt creeps into thoughts. Is it even possible to change this place? But after analyzing everything, they conclude the labyrinths perform special functions related to the world's energy. The plan becomes harder, but not doomed. They explain labyrinths are channels that transmit magical energy throughout the world, without which there would be no life and no resources would appear. Without this stream, you can't take a single step in the system, so the guy involuntarily breaks his head, wondering why exactly now they are opening it. They argue whether to close the entrance to the labyrinth to tame the energy, but realize then nothing will be used anymore. Only then does the boy, shining in his eyes, propose to strategically apply this system idea of synchronization with the labyrinth, which shocks the group deeply. The boy makes a plan to build a city using a labyrinth as the foundation. They first build a very simple structure and then step by step expand it, fueling everything with acquired energy and resources to create a safe and comfortable place for everyone. He explains that by connecting the city with the labyrinth, he will start a cycle. More people will come, more energy will fuel everything, and thus both places will only grow stronger. The group is deeply moved. They immediately see now they can grow without limits and finally feel protected. He points out two weak points of the plan. People will have no reason to help, and his appearance like a monster's repels everyone and leaves no chance for acceptance. Then he decides to resort to the city gates, secretly gathering information and trying to reshape his adventurer image, seeking a way to make forming the group possible. And suddenly he comes up with a clever move. He recalls an ancient race and decides to use it as a justification for his appearance. After that, he wonders, should he not resemble a person from a distant land, thus creating an image that others will easily accept? He decides to use this new identity to push his plan forward, confident this will be better and everything will work out. Next, he determines the next step, to head to the city, register as an adventurer, and orders others not to slow down to grow and prepare for what lies ahead. He lays out the further steps clearly and asks the group to stay in touch, even if for now from afar. Having agreed on where to meet first, they head to the city planning to start everything from scratch right there. Then they boarded a magical transport and rushed to the city, as if time itself was pushing them forward. Deciding to take this path and accept the trial for the sake of change, the boy prepares to adapt to fighting in human form and continue his plan. During the journey, creatures attack them and the girl reacts lightning fast, not giving the enemies a second to pause. She steps forward against the opponent with magic in her hands and destroys the threat while they keep advancing. After the clash, the boy notices the girl has grown. And suddenly she notices her magic has risen to a completely different level. But in a moment, something approaching from afar suddenly catches his attention. A cart rushes towards them at full speed, and the whole group immediately sees it. As soon as it stops, a new figure appears. She evokes genuine surprise and makes one wonder, who is this and what is happening here? The newcomer recognizes the boy and immediately understands what is going on, explaining, the girl can become human. Then she admits that she urgently needs help due to a problem with a nearby labyrinth, and because of this, the group involuntarily contemplates the new situation. They see monsters emerging from the nearby labyrinth, their numbers are increasing, and the entire village is under threat. And seeing the despair of the novice, the boy decides to help and presses. During the journey, he moves together with the group to the destination. They announce confirmation, a mass invasion of monsters is coming at them from the labyrinth. While the messenger hurriedly told that the village is already fighting and soon will not hold out, the mission became even more urgent. They find out the village is divided into those who flee and those who resist, but there is nowhere to escape, so the situation becomes critical, and the group immediately rushes to find a way out. The boy calls to evacuate the residents while the strongest hold back the monster assault. He adjusts the plan so that everyone remains safe and dares to reveal part of his secret so that the strategy works. The envoy agrees the secret must remain beyond rumors. The boy confesses it is his labyrinth. He offers it as a safe shelter to lead everyone out and immediately gives a clear rescue plan. He takes the decision upon himself. While the residents evacuate, the monster assault must be held back, so he takes the initiative and leads the group forward. They do not break contact, coordinating every step and acting synchronously. They head to the village. They conclude the invasion began due to a lack of energy in the labyrinth, which caused the mass release of monsters. And they decided if they break them up together, they can save the situation and hold back the offensive. They concluded that the labyrinth had collapsed and would continue to spawn monsters until it was destroyed. So the boy makes a plan to destroy waves of enemies to buy time while he leads people out and fortifies his base. They agree on the plan and distribute responsibilities. The girl takes on the risky task and the group sets off into action. And the messenger, though his heart tightens with anxiety, thanks them for their help as everything begins to come alive and move into action. The boy moves forward and is the first to start saving the village. Having given the signal, everyone rushed into action and immediately put the plan into practice. Looking at the village, the boy confirms the plan has begun. Dividing the group as agreed, he launches the rescue operation. As soon as they arrive, they see the village is under attack. The residents are desperately fighting monsters, so the group immediately throws themselves into battle to help them. The girl goes to the front line against the monsters. Meanwhile, the boy focuses on the actions. He orders the residents to retreat and begin evacuation, divides the group to hold back the attack and protect the village. He entrusts the protection of people to the rural warriors and emphatically emphasizes, the main thing is evacuation. Meanwhile, he and his allies head straight towards the monsters. He prepares to enter the battle and decides to fight on the front line. Meanwhile, the girl resolutely promises to back them up and destroy the last enemies, coordinating their actions to protect everyone. He activates an ability that temporarily enhances his strength and speed and launches an attack on the monsters. Strong direct strikes clear the way and a large-scale confrontation begins. He advances forward, quickly defeats several enemies and suddenly notices the waves are becoming increasingly powerful. When higher-level monsters begin to appear, the fight immediately becomes much more dangerous. After several waves of fierce fighting, the group realizes in horror there are still too many enemies. And while the clash continues, something begins to restructure inside the boy as if his evolution is triggered right in the middle of the battle. The girl sharply takes the helm, and the boy, feeling the effect of the changes on himself, trusts her without hesitation to lead the fight further. Just as everything falls into place, the evolution activates automatically, and in the middle of the clash, his body suddenly undergoes an unexpected transformation. In the whirl of transformation, the boy completes his evolution and emerges in a new form. Feeling his power rapidly increasing, he is about to unleash an even more destructive strike. He asks the girl to step back, for he has decided to end this battle once and for all. In his new form, he strides alone towards the horde, facing. In the final waves, even fiercer enemies surge, determined to destroy them all at once and turn the tide of battle. He meets the last wave of monsters confidently, clenching his resolve and raising a decisive strike to end everything in one blow and stop this fight here. He gathers all his energy, activates an even stronger version of his ability, channels lightning into his weapon, and prepares the final strike to destroy all enemies simultaneously. He rushes forward, surrounded by energy, slicing through the horde and forging a path straight into the heart of chaos, tensely preparing to deliver the decisive blow to the very heart of the fight. He focuses his energy, creates several electric spheres, and releases them. A powerful explosion covers the entire surrounding area. Resolutely stepping forward to put an end to the clash, he raises his power once more, concentrates energy into a single point, and bursts into the sky end. From the heights, he prepares the final attack, to strike the entire horde at once with a single blow and put an end to this fight. He unleashes the final assault, gathering all his strength into a devastating strike that crashes onto the ground and shatters everything in its path. The horde of monsters is wiped out. A colossal shock completely overturns the battlefield. He says that the invasion will not stop until the heart of the labyrinth is destroyed. He decides to destroy the first wave to buy at least some time. While organizing the evacuation of the village to a safe place, they were preparing for the next waves that were already approaching. He decisively declares only he and the girl will stand against the monsters and the rest will handle the evacuation. By that, he clearly makes it understood that if the situation worsens, they will retreat but will not abandon those who are still holding the fight. After the devastating attack, he confirms all this is not accidental but a clearly planned mission that must be completed. He clears the area and only then, having made sure everyone is safe, allows himself to breathe out. He immediately organizes the return to the village, not stopping the mission execution for a moment. Returning to the village, they met again and confirmed that the evacuation was already underway. The boy assures he has killed the monsters in this area and temporarily stabilized the situation. The village head sincerely thanks for the help and decisively says, "We need to act quickly." Time is short. The boy brushed off the praise and immediately shifted the conversation to the next steps of the plan. The evacuation spun up like lightning. People listened to instructions and hurriedly gather to leave the village and head to a safe place. When everything moves smoothly, everyone begins to act as one. Even those who hesitated before are convinced as soon as they see the boy's strength. Watching everything, he feels the situation is much more serious than it seemed, and as soon as he is called for a talk, he gathers himself and prepares to move to the next steps of the plan. The boy confidently offers her a proposal to become his ally and help implement plans for the future. They emphasize the important role that only she can fulfill, especially when it comes to money and organizing the entire process. She is really bothered by the organizational details. This makes her a bit uncertain, but still she agrees and decides to join. He lays out a contract of subordination to her, immediately emphasizing that this in no way limits her freedom of action. And without hesitation, she accepted it. They seal the deal. The alliance between them becomes official. And as soon as they execute the plan, the group returns to the village. He confirms the evacuation was successfully completed, everyone was brought to safety, and the boy is already thinking through the next steps in the organization, meanwhile noticing the unexpected absence of one of the allies. They enter the labyrinth and come across a space they did not expect at all. The new ally steps forward, introduces herself, and gets acquainted with the rest of the group. At the same time, he reveals the main point. This place is the heart of the labyrinth, the base of the entire operation. He gathers the group and explains. He entrusts the final resolution of the crisis to the adventurers so as not to draw unnecessary attention or expose himself. Meanwhile, as they discreetly implement the plan, he invents a plausible version of what happened, and everyone seems to go along with this story without direct interference. He clarifies that the adventurers themselves will take on the final suppression of the invasion. This way, suspicions can be avoided, and people will be given a convincing explanation while the group continues its plans unnoticed. Having decided on the next step, he sends his ally to the guild to warn about the invasion and divert attention to another city. Meanwhile, he forces the adventurers and the authorities to immediately get up and act, while the group continues behind the scenes. He decides to hold back the invasion for some time together with the girl to support the adventurers. At the same time, he sends an ally to notify the guild and coordinate what the response should be. Keeps in touch from afar while the plan step by step goes according to the design. After a few days, the mechanism finally starts. The guild mobilizes adventurers, and they head to the region while information spreads and strength gathers for suppression. And then the group notices everything goes according to plan. They catch the moment to attract attention and SDR. They strengthen positions with all their might. The crisis gathers more and more fighters, and he just holds the line and waits to see what happens next. Avoiding unnecessary attention, together with the girl, he prepares to continue resisting the monsters, waiting for his chance for a decisive move. They do not retreat on the front line. They fight monsters and hold the pressure until the adventurers arrive. So that everyone approaching sees, they fight side by side and defend this land. At the place where trouble begins, a group of brave adventurers appears. They introduce themselves in the blink of an eye, and as soon as they realize the trouble is already here, immediately offer their help. When they see that the boy is the same one who has already fought to save everyone, they rush into battle alongside him without hesitation. The traveler stands side by side with the boy on the front line, coordinates attacks as if feeling the rhythm of the battle, intensifies pressure on the monsters, and at the same time strengthens the defense of the area. The traveler swiftly demonstrates skill. With one strike, disables several enemies and immediately notices that reinforcements are already approaching. It is preparing to rush even further along with the rest of the group into battle. The adventurers rushed into battle and engaged in hand-to-hand combat with the monsters. They stubbornly moved forward, attacking in unison, and held the line shoulder to shoulder with the group of guys. The girl continuously covered them with long-range shots while the adventurers, not wasting a second, broke through further. The boy felt the next evolution was already at the doorstep. He decided to retreat, return to the labyrinth, and deal with it. When he returned to the labyrinth, he saw the girl had fallen and was lying unconscious. This involuntarily made him rush to her as soon as he realized that while he was gone, something had gone wrong. As he approached, suddenly it dawned on him she was not injured after the evolution. She had simply transformed into a larger form. When she woke up, he confirmed that she was fine, although he could not hide his amazement at her change. They studied the results of the evolution and understood. The girl retained her human form but gained significantly more powerful abilities. With enhanced magic and new auxiliary abilities, the group became more resilient and ready for anything that awaited ahead. They decided the rest of the invasion would be for the adventurers, and they themselves would take on their plans to expand and strengthen the base. But a few days later, news arrives: the core is destroyed. The crisis has finally ended. The ally returns to the labyrinth and confirms the invasion was successfully held back by brave travelers who brought information known to few, the true details of what happened, while the group gathers again to coordinate the next steps. She returned with awards and news from the guild. The adventurers were paid for the mission, and their deed finally gained recognition. He decides not to stop, further gathering data and keeping a close watch to ensure the plan remains under control. Having accumulated points during the crisis, he expands the labyrinth, adding new floors, pushing the boundaries further and further. He organizes easier levels for beginners and deeper zones for experienced adventurers. For now, the group is focused on the relentless development of the base, step by step increasing its potential. He begins to transform the base into a city, requests to build shops and an inn. They entrusted management to the ally and put his own resources into action as a starting contribution so that this place would begin to grow. They plan to weave the village into the labyrinth to create a direct entrance for it. Appoint the ally as the community representative. Continue expanding the base, while they were turning the old labyrinth into the main base of their group. He decides to head to the city together with the girl to register as adventurers. He sets himself the goal of reaching rank B to create a clan. He leaves the rest of the group responsible for further developing the base, as long as the base remains organized and clear. He heads with the girl to the city, and as soon as they arrive at the new place, the next stage of the plan starts. As soon as they stepped into the city, their different appearances immediately caught the eyes of passers-by, but yet they stubbornly keep their course and head to the Adventurers Guild, already ready to begin a new stage of their journey. Entering the guild, he tries not to stand out, but soon he is recognized anyway for what he did during the invasion. But he does not falter, and speaking focusedly that he came to register as an adventurer, immediately receives a referral to the guild master. He was already waiting specifically for him. They are brought to the guild leader, who already knew about their reputation, so he meets them unusually directly and confidently. He introduces himself as a local authority and with undisguised curiosity begins to inquire about their recent feat. Filling the air with respect and curiosity, he officially initiates the first contact between them. In front of the guild master, they are both solemnly received. He introduces himself, clarifies his position, and makes it clear that he already knows who they are. The hero silently reads the situation, and the girl looks attentively. Thus begins an important conversation with someone extremely influential in the city. They officially introduce themselves and announce that they came to register, but the way they were received seemed strange to them. The guild master responded casually, admitted that he himself was once an adventurer, and, sincerely praising their strength, told that he had heard about their deeds during the invasion. Then he throws them a challenge: show what you're capable of to confirm the reputation that is spreading. The leader explains, usually everything starts from the lowest rank, but here is a chance to rise quickly as soon as you prove your strength. Excited by the opportunity to immediately take a step forward, the hero agrees without hesitation. They are taken to where they will take the test. A new stage begins, which is supposed to show what they are really capable of. Next, they are led to the guild's underground training arena. Several adventurers were already waiting to assess their abilities when the leader arranged a direct trial and gathered higher-ranked fighters for confrontation. Realizing the group's level, he decided to hold back his partner, explaining, "Her magic is too powerful. In such a fight it could be dangerous, so most likely he himself will stand in the front line." The leader sets a simple test. To measure her level, he asks her to aim a spell at a specific target. Before that, the main hero strictly orders her not to use enhancements and to fight only with basic techniques so as not to reveal too much. Despite this, she confidently agrees, suppresses the gathered silence within herself, and prepares magic while the surrounding adventurers watch attentively. They are curious about how it will all end. He casts the spell with cold precision and completely destroys the target. Everyone was left behind in surprise when he demonstrated power that far exceeded their expectations. Although the target was fortified against magic, she easily destroys it. Travelers froze in shock, realizing that her power was much higher than the usual level. While everyone is still trying to comprehend what they just saw, the main hero steps up for his turn, confident and ready for the next challenge. The leader changes the challenge as soon as he assesses their level, and decides to switch to a much stronger physical target, one specially made to withstand the most powerful attacks. The main hero agrees without any enhancements. He does not reveal all his cards, remains confident, and even asks if he can break the target, as if immediately making it clear that he will show his power directly. With one direct strike, he hits the target and completely shatters it, breaking what was supposed to withstand heavy attacks. From that blow, everyone seemed stunned. It became obvious that his strength was also significantly higher than usual, just like hers. Looking at the performance of both, the leader acknowledged their strength was truly undeniable, yet he still adhered to the guild rules and immediately assigned them a starting rank of C. He explained simply and firmly, almost no one is below this level, so starting from the lowest, this is the maximum they can get now, but for the work shown, they will be quickly promoted. After the trial, the leader calls them for a private conversation and, without wasting time, immediately asks a direct question: who are you really? The main character was already expecting this suspicion. He remains calm, making it clear with his look and tone that he has long prepared a cover story. And he presents a convincing legend. Supposedly, they lived in isolation in the forest since childhood, survived on their own hunting monsters, hence such an incredibly high level. He simply and humanly tells about their origin and explains they only started traveling when they became strong enough. The leader listens attentively, accepts these words, and step by step begins to better understand where that unusual strength comes from. After the explanations, the leader accepts their story and forms a partnership with them. Then the two both complete registration in the guild and officially receive adventurer certificates of rank C. From this moment, they start a new stage as recognized members. Now registered as adventurers, they are thrilled about the new stage and celebrate their official return to the guild. So they decide to play it safe, replenish their potion supplies, and buy additional equipment. And at the same time take the chance to stroll more calmly through the city before the next missions. They set about preparing, buying potions and all the most necessary things, and keep wandering through the city's shops, scouting for additional equipment. During the walk, someone approaches them, clearly interested in them. peaceful moment was shattered and the air seemed to wink. A new meeting would soon begin. The woman warrior nervously approaches them, hesitating, as if gathering herself, and asks, "Talk to her." Her posture and gaze speak instead of words. She came to the main character with an important conversation, and this could draw him into a new matter. But as soon as she tries to start, her courage completely retreats. She freezes, then suddenly throws herself to the ground in despair and turns to him with an extreme, desperate request. The scene caught everyone by surprise. The air thickens with tension, attention focuses on the event, and the main character stands confused, not understanding what is happening. Noticing the strange atmosphere, the girl intervened and tried to calm the situation. Someone suggests stepping aside to talk in a more private place. The warrior agrees, though still nervous, while the crowd meanwhile does not avert their gaze. As they, watching each other, move away from the crowd, the warrior walks behind, tense, as if still unsettled. The main character begins to suspect her strange behavior, but the girl understands. She is not bad at all, just too emotional, so seeking silence, they lead her to a quieter place to finally hear what she will say. Settling in a quiet corner, she tries to explain and still trembles with nerves. She said she was looking for him and wants to give herself to be devoured, and this completely confused the main hero. The girl intervenes to ease the tension, asks the warrior to calm down, and she herself sees how he pulls himself together, sighs, and says that she was once a guardian of the orcs. This is where her real explanation begins. She slowly unfolds the past, admitting she was once a weak and despised orc guard, and recalls their meeting when she was simply ignored, not even considered worthy of a fight. Hearing this, the hero finally recognizes her and immediately connects her with that earlier event in the labyrinth that happened before. She removes the mask, reveals her true face. Now before him is the Orc Queen. She says that thanks to the ability to shift into human form, she acquired this appearance, calls herself Shink, and bows to him respectfully. The heroine freezes in surprise as soon as she realizes who she really is, and the conversation then quiets down, calms the breath, and prepares the moment for her to tell everything in detail. Having calmed down, they sit to talk, and Shink meanwhile continues her story. She admits that she was once a weak and worthless orc without. She has no value even as a source of power for someone as strong as him. The heroine listens attentively, better understanding how much she has changed since then, yet still doubts the main reason for all this. Why she wants him to devour her. Shink says she has been persistently training to become worthy of him devouring her and insists on this desire. Shinu realizes that deep down she just wants to feel needed, and the main heroine begins to understand that this is exactly what drives her. The protagonist notices her efforts and instead of making her a victim, decides to help her grow. Shinu offers Shink to become their companion, and this completely changes the course of events. Surprised, Shink hesitates, but this offer gives her a new chance to find meaning alongside them. Moved, she accepts the offer and sincerely thanks them. Smiling with relief and happiness, she, though uncertain, decides to try her best, now determined to help and grow alongside them as a companion. Shink's past is revealed when she was just a simple, nameless orc guard. As soon as she met the main hero, she immediately began to adore him and set herself a crazy goal to become worthy of him consuming her. When she saw other orcs being devoured and turned into food, the same desire awoke in her, and she even called herself the one capable of fulfilling this role at any cost. After this meeting, Shink completely changed. She lost one desire to see him once more. And it is then that a new ability awakens in her. She suddenly begins to understand the language of other monsters. But as soon as she tries to escape, the other orcs call her a traitor and rush to stop her by force. A clash breaks out, and Shink stubbornly strives for freedom. Determined to achieve her goal at any cost, Shink unhesitatingly bursts into the crowd of other orcs and fights her way to escape. Even when several attack her at once, she does not retreat. She is driven by the desire to become stronger and worthy. Fleeing through the blows, Shink feels her body beginning to change. She enters a mightier form of an orc guardian, thus her transformation begins. Approaching closer to the human world, Shink notices two men talking to each other. And hearing only superficial remarks, he begins to more subtly catch their tastes and thoughts. She understands strength and intelligence alone are not enough, and increasingly leans toward the idea that she needs to change not only her character but also her appearance and how she rebuilds her image to become closer to the human ideal, and Shink experiences a true revelation. She needs to grow not only in strength but also become more attractive to people. She silently observes, learns, takes adventurers as examples, and studies for hours what exactly attracts men, after which she decisively transforms herself to achieve her goal. The next day, Shink leaves the forest in search of greater strength and relentlessly trains, moving forward step by step. During the journey, people notice her and hunt her like a monster. Fleeing, she still keeps her course and is stubbornly determined to become stronger. On the road, Shink comes across a halberd, left somewhere by a traveler. Noticing the chance, she takes the weapon and goes further, now better equipped, so her combat power will only grow. After a few days, Shink finds the entrance to a dungeon and challenges it to grow in strength. She heads to the boss's room and after an exhausting battle, snatches victory, a living proof that her determination has grown stronger. Even after the victory, Shink does not stop. She continues training in the dungeon. She repeats the challenge again and again, stubbornly pushing herself to become even stronger. With each attempt, she becomes more skilled. Defeating the enemy is now easier and she clearly feels her own progress, yet still understands training is not enough. In the midst of exhausting training, Shink evolves again, becoming even more powerful and finally transforming into the Orc Queen. After this, she takes a pause to catch her breath. She already knows how to show how much she has grown and savors a rare moment of calm before continuing her path after evolution. Shink decides to check her condition and, without looking away, continues to gaze around, still focused on growing further. At that moment, she hears people nearby talking about the city of Reclea and sees a chance to learn more from adventurers. When she approaching, they suddenly notice her, thus begins a new acquaintance. As soon as she is noticed, Shink is immediately recognized as the Crimson Orc Queen, a title that instilled fear in humans. The adventurers panicked and fled. It became clear, since then her reputation had already spread. As soon as she appears, she is immediately perceived as a threat. Watching the adventurers, Shink notices the status system and tries to imitate it. When she manages to activate it, her data and confirmations surface before her. Now she is the Queen of Orcs. And she understands that this will help her better understand her development and become even stronger. Interested in this ability, Shink decides to test it, activating masculinization. Her body slowly begins to transform. This proves this very technique allows her to acquire a more human likeness, and without it she will not be able to get closer to her goal. The transformation is complete. Shink has finally become fully human, and surprised and overwhelmed with delight, she felt what incredible possibilities this ability opens. She realizes that now she can get even closer to the ideal she is seeking, and this step seems to her an important advancement in her journey. Now in human form, Shink decides to head to the city to learn more from people without frightening them. On the way, meeting female adventurers, she finds the courage and approaches them to ask and better understand how to behave. When Shink tries to talk to the adventurers, she makes a simple mistake. She appears without clothes, and this causes instant shock. The women were embarrassed and scolded her, as if simultaneously trying to explain what happened and hurriedly cover everything up. Shink, not fully understanding yet, felt even in human form, she will have to learn the simple rules of coexistence. To avoid suspicion, Shink invents a story. Supposedly monsters attacked her and she lost her equipment. Travelers believed her. They were touched by sympathy, so they decided to help and offered to escort her to the city. She agrees, leaves her things behind, and plans to return for them later. This allows her to get closer to people without arousing suspicion. During the conversation, Shink finally dares to ask what va-va-vam means. Adventurers laugh at the question and simply explain. It is a compliment that sounds pleasant and impressive, like "you are beautiful." Hearing this, Shink was surprised and finally better understood the kind of charm she wanted to achieve. As soon as she heard the explanation, Shink suddenly understood everything. Without even noticing it, she already had that va-va-vam, and although the situation amused her, now she grasped the essence even more deeply. Shortly after arriving in the city of Reclea, she, captivated by everything around. Travelers say goodbye, wish her luck, and leave her there to follow her own path in the human world. Filled with determination, Shink decides to become an adventurer, and he is led to the guild. After registration, she collects her equipment and begins accepting missions, quickly learning how the human world is arranged, thus officially starting her path as an adventurer of the lowest rank. Shink changes extremely quickly and very soon earns rank C, honing the power of humanization through constant training. She uses this freely, but inside feels something is missing to make her ideal complete. She decides that the next step is to become a maid. Shink continues to stubbornly snoop around in search of anything remotely related to maid. And eventually she comes across a proud traveler who, while preaching, begins to tell about it. But it was just a bluff to appear significant, and in a moment he flees, pleading not to expose him. Confused, Shink realizes she still hasn't learned anything useful and again rushes off in search of answers. Finally, Shink catches a timely piece of advice. To become a maid, she first needs a uniform, so wasting no time, she spends mission money on tailoring the costume. When she steps out in it, glances involuntarily stick to her everywhere she goes, but for her, this is no more than another step toward the goal. In full uniform, Shink sees in herself the perfect embodiment of her goal, and gathering herself, makes a promise to give herself completely to become the perfect food for that man. For that, she records in notes everything she has learned and experienced, leaving them as proof of the path traveled. Filled with confidence in her new form, Shink feels capable of leading other women and never once deviates from her goal. But as soon as she catches a familiar scent, she immediately shifts her attention. It's Anne, and seeing him next to Kinu, Shink cannot hide her surprise. Finally, what she had waited for so long happened. After all she had been through, Shink finds determination within herself, thanks them for listening, and noticing Anne, gathers courage. Without any hesitation, she rushes forward to him and, announcing that her decisive moment has come, finally declares her readiness to fulfill the goal for which her entire evolution has been moving forward. While all this unfolds, An walks through the city, stepping thoughtfully and seemingly getting used to the thought. Kinu nearby has long become the norm, but still he decides to act according to his own plans. Meanwhile, Kinu and Shink are seen returning to Forêt Noire Forest, and the paths quietly diverge again. He decides to better prepare for the life that awaits him among people. So he begins to look for an item that can hide the fact that he is a monster, and plans to stay in the city longer, posing as an adventurer. He carefully sorts through accessories and the price tags attached to them, looking for something he can invest in successfully to blend in with the crowd and avoid suspicion. He thinks about spending points on expanding the dungeon, but still restrains himself. He decides to wait and first take care of what requires attention here and now. Remembering the armor shop, he heads there in search of useful accessories. After browsing the options, he finally finds exactly what he needed. His heart even jumped at the very thought, finally obtaining an item that will help him better disguise himself among people. He comes across camouflage items, rings and necklaces, and buying them for almost nothing, gains a way to hide his true face. Having decided that it is time to act, he heads to the guild. He takes on rank C missions, wants to register a group with Kinu, but for now will work alone. In the guild corridors, An comes across a request that confuses him, a reconnaissance mission in the Morpheus Forest. This unsettled him. Rank C missions usually involve subjugation, so he asks for a more detailed explanation. The attendant shrugs and says that the forest ecosystem has been reshaping recently. Because of this, the matter was formalized as an official investigation. Intrigued, An decides to take on the request. Another adds, in the Morpheus Forest, weak monsters usually roam, but now rumors say that stronger creatures have come from Crimson Raven and started mixing with the locals. So this mission is just reconnaissance. No direct combat is planned yet, and they warn that engaging in a fight at his level could be deadly dangerous. Anne agrees without hesitation, only asking for permission to act as the mission requires. She was approved, and the guild already considers her truly strong. Hearing the warning to be careful, he sets off alone and arrives at the place where everything is supposed to begin. Finally, Anne reaches the Morpheus Forest and begins to figure out the surroundings, ready to carefully determine what is happening here. As soon as he takes the first step into the forest, he runs into adventurers who flee in panic. As soon as they saw this, panic rises in the crowd and an alarm flies about a giant scorpion roaming somewhere nearby. It immediately becomes clear. The investigation can turn into a clash in seconds, and the area here is clearly more dangerous than everyone imagined. The appearance of a giant scorpion, a rank B monster, thunders, so there is no doubt. Anne, without hesitation, orders the adventurers to flee and goes to meet it. She goes into battle alone, confidently launching the first attack, showing that she is ready to face what goes beyond the mission's expectations. Anne rushes forward, leaving the scorpion no pause, intercepting its movement in the air with full force and delivers a devastating blow. The monster's body flies apart before it can move. The strike is brutal, with no chance. A few moments and the scorpion of rank B is already falling, and along with it becomes obvious, Anne's strength far exceeds what was expected for this mission. After the fight, Anne dryly remarks that it took longer than he expected, and the adventurers are simply shocked. He alone defeated a rank B monster. They thank him for the help and explain that they came only to investigate, but it quickly becomes clear. Everything is much more dangerous. Anne, surveying the surroundings, confirms that the forest itself has changed and notices a mention of Shink, a hint at a possible connection. However, having saved the group, Anne decides to continue the investigation alone. he orders the adventurers to return to REICALED and report everything to the guild. They agree, thank him, and finally ask his name. Introducing himself, he gives his name An. And says goodbye, and they, wishing him to be careful, sincerely show the respect he has earned from them. He walks alone through the forest, easily exterminates monsters, and does not for a moment get distracted from the investigation. He overcomes strong monsters one after another and clearly notices there is a certain pattern in everything. Different and powerful species appear together, and he concludes, the forest ecosystem is collapsing. Unrealizes feels that monsters from Crimson Revan are breaking into Morphia Forest, and the threat is rapidly increasing. Having completed the investigation, he decides to immediately head back to the city to report the situation, returning to the guild. He shows the evidence and immediately deals with 9 rank B monsters. The worker, noticeably surprised, asks him to take everything to the disassembly zone for inspection. Confirmed, the situation in the disassembly zone is indeed serious. He begins to bring the bodies of the monsters. The quantity is simply overwhelming, it doesn't even fit on the table. The responsible person tells him to stack the rest behind. Everyone was shocked by how many strong creatures he defeated single-handedly, and when they examined the bodies, they confirmed all of them are from Crimson Revan, and this only emphasizes that an invasion has occurred. They, impressed by the number, increase Anne's reward, and with that the task ends. The guild finally acknowledges that the forest is much more dangerous than they expected. Anne finishes the report and arranges to collect the reward the next day. When he returns home, the mission ends just as Kinnu meets him. As soon as Anne stepped over the threshold, he was warmly greeted by Kinnu and Shink. Shink already presents herself as a maid excitedly, and with an important new remark says that she will now accompany them. Anne agrees with the idea and adds that he himself also has something for both of them in a tone light and casual, as if the mission is already behind. He hands Kinnu and Shinku jewelry that outshines their status, so in the city they can walk freely and without extra glances. Both are beaming with happiness and thank him, while he already shifts his gaze to the next step. That same day they take off and start a bunch of missions to quickly rise to rank B. Anne says he will register the group and asks them for ideas for the name. Kinnu again mentions his magic, and the air seems to tense before the strike. Especially the black lightning, he suggests something from it and emphasizes that it should mean a fierce thunderclap, sharp, merciless. Ken throws out the name Black Thunderclap inspired by Ona's magic, and immediately everyone, without arguments, picks it up and agrees. Finally, they decide on the group's name, and the day ends with a firm plan to register the party tomorrow. At night, everything around slowly sinks into quiet calm, as if the world is silencing before the new step. Kinnu and Shinku become even closer, and Anne finally exhales and relaxes after a tense day. For now, everything is settled. Now he just rests, gathering strength for tomorrow. At night, An notices that Kinnu has finally fallen asleep next to him. He accepts everything as it is and goes back to rest, leaving a light, relaxed atmosphere between them. Next morning, Shink prepares breakfast and greets joyfully. He praises the food, and she nervously awaits his approval, light and warm, as if a routine is already beginning to form between them. Shink asks to take over all the meals, and An agrees. He blossoms, and Kinnu approves of it too. It becomes noticeable that both are relaxing, and the group's usual rhythm only strengthens. Everyone gathered together, and in a calm team atmosphere, they started breakfast ready for the day of missions. In the guild, the group approves a plan, takes several missions at once, and swiftly rises to rank B, starting to complete quests en masse. After completing several missions, the group similarly jumped ranks and all became adventurers of rank B. With this on his mind, An's goal resurfaced, to create a large squad, but now together with those companions he can trust. Having risen to rank B, the group exploded with joy and began celebrating. Everyone saw this as the first step toward realizing his dream of creating a large clan. Now he gets down to business, officially founding the group. To make the clan official, it will take a few days, but the group is already burning with anticipation of what lies ahead. Shink strives to become more useful, and Kinnu says that now they can grow together, and thinks that becoming a monster unexpectedly turned out to be a good turn in his life. Several adventurers appear severely wounded, and An immediately regains consciousness. He will beg Kinnu to use healing magic as soon as he himself administers the potion. This indicates that the group acts quickly, not for the sake of battle, but to save lives. The wounded begin to recover and recount what happened. They were attacked, and the threat turned out to be much greater than they could have expected. As soon as one of them manages to warn before fainting, the black dragon the creature mentioned is heading to REICALED. From these words, the urgency of the situation skyrockets. Now everything is confirmed. Before them is a monster of an incredibly high level, possibly even rank S. The group instantly tenses. They are the first to rush to take the wounded for treatment, but they already understand the situation is critical. The threat in the Morpheus forest, which could reach the city at any moment, the group was urgently summoned to the office and explained the situation. The guild had already sent an A-rank squad to deal with the strange changes in the Morpheus forest that began a few weeks ago, and the current threat seems to stem from this, so the problem is much larger than everyone had imagined. The guild leader acknowledges the full seriousness. There are no S-rank adventurers, and even if reinforcements are called, the dragon might reach the city before they arrive. Therefore, he directly asks on to delay the creature's advance, clearly indicating that this is a special mission and almost desperate request. He is the only one there strong enough to try to buy time. The mission was declared S-rank, and it concerns an extremely dangerous monster. But despite everything, On agrees without hesitation, ready to face the challenge, and only asks for details to act. Guild assures reinforcements are already on the way, but they may take up to a day to arrive. The main thing is to buy time and give the people in the city a chance to escape. If possible, defeat the dragon, but do not take reckless risks. On quickly grasps the whole picture and takes responsibility upon himself. Kinu and Shink confirmed without hesitation that they would support On. Guild head, still worried, trusts them and without wasting time On sets off. They focused on the mission to stop the dragon before it becomes too late. The leader felt hope awakening in him again, so he gave permission to proceed. On resolutely takes control of the situation, leaving the defense of the city in their hands, and goes to meet the dragon himself. Group leaves the city and soon notices a threat in the distance. Seeing the dragon approaching, everyone understood without words the battle was about to erupt. The dragon emerges from the darkness and immediately closes the distance, lunging forward. He instantly realized the speed was much higher than they had calculated. Decisively overtaking, he launches an electric strike to knock down the target while the others are still catching up. Now he goes alone and immediately launches an attack. Leaping with all his strength onto the dragon, he enters into direct confrontation. The strike hits the dragon, explodes with a fierce roar. It was indeed hit, but he is far from falling. With one blow, he knocks the dragon out of the air. Henu casts magic to hit the wings, while Shink rushes to the front line to distract and hold the creature's attention. Shink taunts the dragon openly and shamelessly, as if deliberately exposing herself to its gaze. All attention is on her while she covers Kinu, who is already preparing to attack. The dragon bursts forward with all its strength, but manages to intercept the move and strike accurately, wounding him and disrupting the rhythm of the attack. Kane releases magic. The dragon's attack explodes, opening a passage. Then Shink steps forward and stands across the path, preventing the creature from advancing. Shink takes the hit on defense, yet still withstands the attack. Kinu immediately activates healing, gets up and says he can still fight. Someone delivers another strong blow directly to the dragon, but it still does not give up, continuing to stubbornly resist. And then the creature turns its attack on Kinu. Everyone instantly rushes to protect him. Shink orders Anu to finish him off, but they suddenly notice something wrong. The dragon seems to be writhing in unbearable pain. They guess this is not an attack by its own will. The dragon seems to be gripped by some external influence. But still, they do not retreat. They keep fighting and at the same time look for the cause, hoping it can still be saved. And changes strategy, orders Shink to keep provoking and Kinu to hold the flanks. He approaches closer to examine the dragon's condition and immediately launches a new attack. Rising into the air, they suddenly notice something strange about the dragon. Anne activates the skill to scan the situation before the strike and instantly detect its cause. The demon sword affects the dragon. Some external force controls it and distorts it. The demonic sword emerges before the creature. As soon as the warrior closes the distance to a step, a powerful aura flares around the blade. Without any hesitation, he rushes forward and delivers a fierce blow to the giant dragon, opening the clash with a force capable of destruction. But as soon as the strike lands, the warrior suddenly realizes what ignited the dragon's rage. The cause is the demonic sword stuck in its back, connected to it so tightly that the fury does not subside. Surveying the battle scene, he concluded, pulling out the sword means stopping the creature's rage, but first he will have to immobilize the dragon. Even if only for a few moments. Immediately after, the thought of the decision flashed in his mind. The warrior prepared to get those special mushrooms he once gathered because he was sure, even briefly, they could affect the dragon's strange state. While he devises the plan, he asks others to continue distracting the creature, buying time so that this attempt succeeds. He gathered a whole pile of mushrooms and, wasting no time, stuffed them into an improvised bag. Convinced that everything can work, the warrior prepares to force the dragon to swallow everything while others continue to hold back the creature in the chaos of battle. The plan is launched. Two female warriors go to the front line to draw all the dragon's attention to themselves. Taking advantage of a gap, the warrior pressed against the creature with a bag of mushrooms and waited for the perfect moment, one that would make the creature swallow the entire huge portion at once. While the dragon was distracted by the attacks of the female warriors, the warrior did not waste time and threw the mushrooms straight into the creature's mouth. The strike hit exactly. The mushrooms disrupted the distracting plan, and a desperate attempt to restrain the monster's rage began. As soon as the dragon opens its mouth, the warrior rushed forward without hesitation and shoved the entire bag of mushrooms straight down the creature's throat. While the monster wildly thrashes about, the others do not stop. They continue to attack, not letting it recover, so that the plan works. As soon as the creature swallows the mushrooms, the dragon finally slows down. Its movements become stiff and inaccurate. Only the group understood that the plan worked. They instantly united and rushed to seize the opportunity. Take the demonic sword before the monster attacks again. The dragon weakened. The group does not retreat. They press on the creature and simultaneously create supportive magic that restrains its movements. After a few minutes, the effect finally stabilizes and the monster becomes controlled again. While there is a perfect opportunity, the warrior proceeds to remove the demonic sword. When the dragon finally froze, the warrior approached the demonic sword and tried to pull it out by force, but as soon as he pulled, he felt and understood. The sword was fused with the creature's body, so pulling it out turned out to be much harder than he had imagined. Deciding to end everything once and for all, the warrior gathers all his strength and envelops the body with energy before sharply pulling out the demonic sword. The strike pierces the dragon's body, and the weapon slowly begins to detach from the creature. After incredible effort, the warrior finally pulled the demonic sword out of the dragon's body and immediately freed himself from the weapon's influence. The creature begins to regain consciousness, and all the aggression that consumed it slowly disappears. As soon as the sword is drawn, terrible dark energy bursts from it. The warrior feels a colossal, ominous power flowing from the blade and instantly realizes the demonic sword is more dangerous than he ever imagined. Now the warrior understands that as soon as he gripped the sword, his consciousness was almost consumed by the evil pulsing in the blade's energy. Understanding the senseless danger of that power, the group concluded that the demonic sword was the true cause of the dragon's uncontrollable rage. Having decided to destroy the demonic sword, the warrior raised a huge mace and tried to smash the cursed blade. Despite the threat posed by the dark energy, he steps forward without any hesitation and delivers a fierce strike with the sword. The strike completely destroyed the demonic sword. Along with the weapon, all the evil energy vanished. When the threat was finally eliminated, the group completed the mission and, with relief in their hearts, decided to return to report everything that had happened. As soon as the demonic sword was destroyed, an unconscious man suddenly appeared in the same place as if he had been freed along with the curse. The group quickly realized that he was still alive. A commotion arose and they rushed to use healing magic to keep him alive. They stabilize his wounds while he grasps for consciousness and struggles to come to his senses and understand what exactly happened. Only partially recovered, the man looked at the warrior in surprise. Next to him, he noticed someone connected to Oni. During the conversation, he unexpectedly establishes a connection with the warrior's past, and it immediately becomes clear there is a long history between them. Tension instantly overflows, and one of the companions, unable to hold back, aggressively lunges at the stranger. Even before everything completely descends into chaos, the man senses danger and suddenly completely changes his attitude. He tries to sincerely apologize and somewhat ease the tension in the group after everyone was frightened. Finally, the man drops his pride and, without any excuses, asks for forgiveness. In a few minutes, he finally mustered up the courage and introduced himself like a human. With a trembling voice, he confessed that he owed them his life. They had torn him away from the influence of the demonic sword. Even after apologizing, he did not stop proving his loyalty to the group, and they, as if conspiring, began to interrogate him about the demonic sword, where it came from, how it entwined itself in his fate. As soon as he tried to recall the past, the memories scattered, confused, fragmented. When he tried to piece together what was lost, the man honestly said only one thing: he was attacked from behind while he was sleeping. These words immediately caught everyone's attention, and they grew convinced that behind all this, and behind the demonic sword, and behind the attack on the dragon, stood someone else. Continuing the story, he admitted that he came from an ancient village of the dragon tribe. After a defeat in an important battle, he lost everything. Disappointment and despair overwhelmed him. He lost control and eventually fell under the power of the demonic sword, and at the same time recalled a mysterious red-haired man connected with that event. Towards the end, the story shifted to the most painful part. The man says he was set up before the decisive clash, so he could not use his powers at all. He did not even have time to react. He was struck from behind and defeated. He realized too late everything around was planned against him. Having recounted the experience in detail, the man admits he wants to become stronger so as never to lose someone important again. The warrior feels his pain and supports the decision, acknowledging that now they both have one goal. The warrior says growing alongside comrades is much better than going alone. This pushes the man, even agreeing with the idea. He asks to officially join the group. The group, without unnecessary words, makes it clear he still has to fulfill several conditions before he is finally recognized as a companion. Watching how the bond among the group members strengthens and trust grows, the man suddenly clearly understands. All his life he had been terribly lonely. Under the influence of this feeling, he quiets the pride of the past and, gathering his courage, frankly says that he wants to be a true companion alongside them. The agreement is finally sealed. The new ally officially becomes part of the group. And although he himself exaggerates and hypes up the energy too much, he is still accepted by the others. So after everything that was connected with the demonic sword and the dragon, a new partnership is born. Introducing the new comrade into the squad, the warrior carefully and attentively examines his skills and condition to truly understand what he is capable of. While everyone tries to adapt to the new reality, the tension after endless battles finally releases. The air becomes lighter. In a moment, other adventurers arrive at the place. I was gripped by anxiety. The dragon disappeared and the battle left destruction behind. And I was literally bombarded with questions about everything that happened. The warrior simply and remarkably straightforwardly summarizes the situation. Avoiding details about the demonic sword and even scarier events, the new ally admits he lost control as soon as that weapon possessed him. He takes responsibility for the damage caused during the attack, even as he blames himself for what happened. Travelers quickly realized he is also a victim of the cursed weapon, so they do not consider him an enemy. After a sincere apology, the tension dissipates completely, and everyone finally makes peace. Just as the questions were exhausted, the group again started talking about the destroyed demonic sword and that mysterious red-haired figure they had mentioned earlier. Feeling that many questions remained unanswered, the group hands over the remnants of the demonic sword so that everything could finally be officially registered in the capital, while the new ally in the meantime is already being portrayed as a victim of the incident. When everything temporarily settled down, the travelers said their goodbyes and went their separate ways, promising to meet again someday after all the chaos finally subsides. The group decides to part ways for a time, each following their own path to focus on their own goals, while the warrior plans to continue developing to become stronger. And the others prepare to return to the forest. They took their new friend with them so he could get used to the new life alongside them faster. Wasting no time, the warrior returns to the forest with his companion and immediately starts new training. Filled with determination to develop even faster, he again charges at monsters and gets involved in fierce battles, increasing his strength. While the warrior continues hunting monsters in the forest, he notices echoes of someone's ill-intentioned signs of new enemies hiding here. Without lowering his guard, he immediately prepares for another battle. During training, the warrior finally reaches a new evolution, and he feels his strength sharply increasing. Having analyzed his status, he suddenly realized now his strength is capable of matching the powers of high-level adventurers. Even his companion was impressed by the speed with which the warrior grew after completing the evolution. The warrior returns to the city together with his companion. As soon as they arrive, the residents immediately recognize the one who saved them all from the dragon threat. And the people began to surround him with admiration and gratitude for the battle that saved the city. The news of the dragon's defeat quickly spread throughout the city, turning the warrior into a true celebrity among the inhabitants. Surrounded by looks of admiration and curiosity, he understands one thing: now everyone sees him as a hero. He did not let the city fall into ruin. Returning to the guild, the team was met with applause and sincere praise for their achievement. He learns that the news has already been sent all the way to the royal capital. While they were arranging a conversation about the reward and next steps, they were curtly made to understand they would have to wait a little while until everything was finally settled. During the conversation in the guild, an important message arrived for the group about another village of the dragon people located on the neighboring plains. Having said goodbye only for a time, they briefly realized it is possible to make contact with this land. And once, if it becomes necessary, to dig deeper into the events related to the dragon people. Just as they were about to leave the guild, the group received an invitation to visit the estate of one of the local nobles. The one who dreams of personally thanking them for the saved city, yet still keeps a distance and remains wary of the nobles. The warrior eventually yields and agrees, although still overwhelmed by admiration and attention from all sides. They cross the city under the watchful, unwavering gazes of the inhabitants. Finally, the group reaches the huge estate of the noble who invited them. Servants hospitably welcome the guests, and then they are led inside, and each tense member prepares to learn the real reason why the noble invited them. At the estate, the entire group finally meets with the noble who invited them. He himself approached and thanked them for dealing with the dragon. Having recognized the traveler's merits, the noble sought to maintain good relations with him and openly stated how vital their help was during the crisis. After the meeting at the estate, the group returns home and sees that their new companion is already trying to get accustomed to the surroundings. When everyone finally spoke freely, the air was filled with peace after the battles, discoveries, and the chaos that raged around the demonic sword. When the tension subsided, the group decided to part ways briefly so that each could focus on their own goals. While the new ally sets out to gain experience as an adventurer, others agree to continue investigating the problems related to the dragon people, and promise to stay in touch if something important happens. While they discuss the next steps, the group finally decides to uncover the secrets of the Beastfolk village and tell about recent events related to the dungeon. Although it is a risky decision, they believe quick action can prevent even greater problems in the future. The group puts the plan into action and decides to announce the appearance of a new dungeon near the village. Seizing the perfect moment, they use the discovery to attract the guild's attention and create a suitable reason to gradually reveal the existence of the Beastfolk village without instant panic. Caught by the idea, the warrior already begins to devise a plan, how to make the new dungeon the main magnetic attraction for adventurers. Their idea is hunting for rare rewards, slow development of the village, and gradual increase in the dungeon's difficulty. All this is to attract more and more people and strengthen the region without capturing it immediately, once everyone's roles were defined. Finally, the group takes on new plans to develop the dungeon and strengthen the region, while each organizes themselves to take on their own tasks. The warrior watches with delight as everything gains momentum and becomes increasingly interesting. But suddenly the dungeon appears and the Beastfolk village shudders. Shock and anxiety ripple from house to house. After all, many are convinced that they will be forced to flee again, and this fear begins to spread among the residents. The group tries to take control of the situation, to calm the people and prevent panic from dragging the village into the whirlpool. Frightened by possible destructions, the villagers beg to destroy the dungeon right now. However, the warrior interrupts the general despair and says, the appearance of the dungeon is not a sentence. Because it can become a real opportunity, the village will strengthen, revive, and begin to prosper. He claims that flourishing cities often grow around dungeons if monsters are reliably contained. Convinced that the village can develop and live without danger, the warrior proposes to unite with the Adventurers Guild and make it a safe land full of opportunities. The warrior further reveals the idea: the dungeon can bring wealth, and the arrival of adventurers triggers a wave of changes, and the village gradually transforms into a lively city in the future. He firmly believes the development of the land can help beastfolk become more acceptable to the world through a place where everyone can live safer and freer. The warrior's words ignited a spark of hope throughout the village. People stopped seeing the dungeon as an absolute threat and began to perceive it as a chance for a new life. Step by step, fear quiets down, and in its place grows admiration. And all together, they already begin to dream about how they will build a great city of beastfolk. Enthralled by the future of their village, the inhabitants began to fantasize about shops, cafes, and several new buildings right in this area. While everyone dreamed aloud, the group secretly continued to craft their plan. And they made contact with allies so that they would officially spread the news about the appearance of a dungeon in the Adventurers Guild. After a few days, their new ally successfully became an official adventurer and swore that from now on he would help the group. Meanwhile, his comrades set off to another city, and the warrior stayed in the village. Noticing the first hints of the dungeon, he stubbornly believed more and more people would be drawn to this region. Very soon, the new dungeon began to attract significantly more adventurers than expected, especially after rumors spread about rare treasures on the first floors. Teams advanced deeper and deeper, and inexperienced adventurers managed to safely explore the surroundings, so the village quickly expanded and came to life. With each successful step, the dungeon produced new floors at an incredible speed, so much stronger monsters began to appear in its depths. Meanwhile, the group received news from the city, and it turned out to be true. They realized everything escalated faster than they could have imagined. Therefore, the warrior had to temporarily retreat and return so as not to miss what would happen next, returning for the reward GR. The group is shocked. They were unexpectedly given an extremely rare promotion, and they immediately rose to rank S. After they defeated the dragon and freed themselves from the demonic sword, the city officially recognized them as elite adventurers, and they immediately became one of the most important groups in the city.